Why did they hack? Why did they freaking? I don't know.
Who knows?
It was ransom.
Yeah, it was a ransom attack. Number one and number two. It's getting to a point where we're seeing that it was a ransom attack. Number one and number two. That these game companies do not have good cybersecurity at all.
No.
It was a ransom attack.
Oh, yeah, we're okay.
Yeah,
Good, fixed it.
Yeah, no, the one screen I didn't mute. I was trying to click on that, and but yeah. So here we are. Thanks to everybody who's here in chat. If anyone yet at this point, I'm joined tonight by my partner in crime, Doc. What's going on, Doc?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. We're going to talk about random geek shit for the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the fuck.
Whatever we do.
Yeah.
And then it's actually his second time on my channel, my good friend Toy Games. What's going on, man?
What's up? It's that time of year for kids get toys.
Yeah, and we're just three big kids.
This is the holiday that kept me being a kid forever. Yeah, absolutely.
So as you can see, Toy Games is definitely a collector. Going by his background.
Yeah.
And I will put his YouTube channel link into the description when we're done, or throw it into chat if people ask for it, so people can go and sub to him.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely check him out.
It's climbing like the dude from Price is Right. I hope I don't fall off the mountain. If anyone remembers that guy, the little yodeler guy.
Thank you for dating all three of us in this fucking chat.
Hey, man.
Yeah, well,
I'm trying to.
If people heard the conversation you and me had last night, they'd be like, "What are you guys, 60?"
Well, it's cool. The thing about and people think you're gonna grow out of this stuff. It's like, no, you're locked in. When you get into this stuff, you are kind of in it for life because it takes hold of you, and you see as you get older. There's not a lot of I wouldn't say originality, but it's tough to top the greats like Spider-Man and Batman and G.I. Joe and Optimus Prime. So you're going to be in this for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I have my own, collector type thing, and me doing Gunpla.
And that's been around forever, right?
I don't know when they started making models, but the incarnation that we know of it as now didn't happen until like the 90s.
Oh.
They had always made model kits, but the early ones, like from the 70s, they were 70s fucking model kits.
Right.
Glue, paint, no articulation or minimal articulation. It's not like now where these things are
they move
a little more fragile action figures than model kits.
You say the 90s as if that's not nearly 30 years ago, sir.
I know, and I try to not remember that, Doc.
I understand in my head it is perpetually 1999.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I do it to myself more often than not, because I'll just sit there and turn around and like fire up an album or something, like, oh, when did this come out?
Yeah, not to get off topic and talk about time, but I was just thinking about, like, if you imagine 1980 in 1994, it seems so far apart, right? But if you picture 2024 to 2010, for some reason it seems like yesterday it was 2010.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
That's because last week was last Christmas.
Yeah.
The a week and a half ago was the previous 4th of July, and 3 weeks ago was 1998.
That's right. That's true. Wild.
The funny thing too is I'm also getting tired of seeing those memes where it's like, oh, on this date, the original Xbox. On this date, the original Xbox is as old now as the original NES was when the Xbox came out. It's like, stop that.
Yeah.
Don't make me realize how much time has passed.
Yeah. Hey, I got one of those my fucking junior year of college when it came out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, if we're gonna talk Christmas and collectibles, though, what best Christmas gift as a kid? You have one?
Oh, very simple. The USS Defiant.
USS Defiant. That
was the GI Joe space shuttle kit.
Yeah, it's like
with the whole landing.
Wow, you son of a.
Yeah.
What'd you get? Like hundreds in school that year?
I don't know. I mean, look. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I mean, granted, it's $1989.
Yeah,
but it was $90.
You know what's funny about that? Because I got some big time awesome gifts for some. I don't think I ever asked for like the USS flag or the shuttle.
Yeah,
I don't. I just think maybe I would have gotten it. For some reason, I didn't think to ask for it.
Maybe because you realized you didn't have room for at least like the aircraft carrier.
Maybe
the aircraft carrier
is ginormous.
No, nobody has room for it. It takes up your entire. I mean, in 1980s house, it took up your fucking living room.
Yeah, I knew one guy actually back in the day who did have it.
Oh, I knew a kid that had it too.
Yeah, me too.
I would say Toy Games, but I don't want to dox anybody, so to speak. But it's somebody we went to school. If I said the name, you'd be like, "Oh, no shit."
Yeah, I did too.
And Jojo, thanks for hopping in the chat, buddy. Good seeing you. But sorry, go ahead. Just saying hi to somebody in the chat.
I knew somebody that had the USS flag with no ships, no Rattler, no
nothing to go on it.
Nothing, the Dragonfly, nothing to go on it.
Honestly, for my top gift, so to speak, it would either have to have been when I got my NES.
Okay.
Or even older than that, since we're talking toys, I remember going to my grandmother's house as I did every year for Christmas.
Yeah.
And at the time, me and my sister were the only grandkids in the family. My aunts and uncles haven't had kids yet and hadn't even gotten married, or the one uncle had gotten married, I think, but no one else had. And we're going through, and all of a sudden my grandfather pulls out, you guys might remember these. Remember the big Avon boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big, like the
big giant pink thing.
No, it wasn't pink. It was a normal brown cardboard with like the details on it were like a greenish blue.
Oh, okay, then no.
Because my great grandmother used to sell Avon. So there would always be like boxes and
like the shipping boxes. Okay.
Yeah. One of the big, hefty, thick cardboard, he pulls it out and slides it in front of me. And as a kid, I'm going, what the fuck?
Why are you getting Avon?
Yeah, I'm like, what? So I open it up. The whole thing was just filled with He-Man figures.
Oh, wow. And
I must have gotten like 15 in that box.
That's a nice little haul.
Yeah, and then another year I'd gotten both the Rattler.
Nice.
And the Blackbird.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
the Blackbird.
Oh, dude, I sold my Joes. Oh, I guess it'd be 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
After I did my dad a solid of by the way, in case anybody ever wants a really good gift for your dad once you're in your 30s and 40s for Father's Day, it's called Get Your Shit Out of His Basement. He will love it, and you will have a bunch of vintage toys that you completely forgot you owned, and if you don't have space for them, sell them.
G.I. Joe is going up. I sold them last summer. I sold each one. I was getting like close to $50 per Joe if they were complete, which is pretty good for a loose figure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was really I always check before I rush to sell stuff as a lot on eBay to just get rid of it. I was like, let me pump the brakes. Let me check. I had Duke and Slaughter and some heavy hitters, Snake Eyes. I was like, let me check because these are complete. Let me check. $50, $50, $50. I was like, holy crap! I almost sold the lot for $200, which was like 30 figures. I would have kicked myself in the ass.
I sold the Defiant, that like the Joe base.
Yeah. Headquarters. Yeah.
Yeah. Their mobile battle platform, which I can't remember what the fuck it was called.
The Mobat, right? No, the Mobat is a tank.
Yeah, the Mobat, I had one of those in there too. And that was the one that had batteries. That was the only Joe toy that was battery powered.
Was that motorized?
The two tanks were. The two tanks.
Yeah.
The tan one was like a Desert Storm tank, and the green one.
Yeah.
And you push the turret forward, and it moves forward, and you push it back. It was a great toy. Phenomenal toy.
Yeah, I had one of those. That went one of the Blackbirds, but it was like this mobile battle platform that had a helicopter on it, like a little. It was like a one-person helicopter. The Rolling Thunder.
Yeah.
And a handful of other things, plus a shit ton of loose figures.
Nice.
You know what? If I would have parted it out and taken my fucking time and sold it all, it would have been $3-4 grand.
Yeah.
I think I sold it bulk to a local toy store for $1,200, $1,500.
Right. That's not bad though. At least you got it done and over with.
It was taking up like half of my fucking nerd room.
Yeah.
And just sitting on the floor. And I'm like, I kept two things. I kept two figures. The Slaughter, but not the original one, the one where he's wearing the blue tank top.
Yep.
And some other dude who I think it was Stalker. No, it wasn't Stalker. Some dude with fucking mutton chops. And like he looked like Lemmy with short hair.
The Dreadnought.
No, it wasn't one of the Dreadnoughts. He was a villain, but it wasn't one of the Dreadnoughts.
It's not Razorback, is it? I thought he was a Dreadnought.
No, he wears all camo too.
Okay.
What the fuck is this? Yeah. And
vamp for me for a minute. I got to step away real quick.
Yep. And that fucking howitzer.
Yeah.
I kept that, and I kept one of the. I don't remember what it was. It was from one of the Destro, his Dominators line or whatever the shit it was called.
Yeah, it got weird towards the end. It got weird. Yeah.
And however, I did find the local Ollie's had a bunch of the Hiss 3 tanks.
Yeah. They re-released it. Yeah.
Yeah, for $12.
Yeah, it's a fun little pickup.
So I picked up 2 of them, and I actually picked up 4 of them for Aaron Sparrow.
Nice.
I sent them out to him a couple of weeks ago.
I like it because they still have the sticker. The stickers were always my favorite part. It was like therapeutic to put them stickers on the vehicles.
Yeah, and I when I was a kid, I was putting them on with my goddamn fingers, and they never went on right. They never went on straight. This time, I got smart and I used tweezers to put them on.
There you go. There's something about getting that sticker on there perfect. It's like a little small instant gratification, like you just won the lotto or something.
Yep. Because on that Hiss 3 tank, like trying to get the one on the front, like the front grill, the sticker is slightly larger than the opening.
Yeah. They do that.
And you gotta kind of slide it up in and then like fold it back down. Oh, it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I remember them being I hated when they went on crooked and you can't get it off. It's like their stickers have like this glue on there.
Yes. And it's some really goddamn sticky glue. But you know what? Recently, at this point, I'm not buying toys unless they're already in Ollie's, which, Ollie's at this point is basically the Hasbro outlet store.
Ollie's, it's amazing. I talked about this with someone else because there's a place called Ross as well that's doing it now. And these toys, sell. People buy them in bulk, like they're going to Sam's Club for end of the world groceries, right? And if the companies just sold the toys near that price to begin with, they wouldn't end up at Ollie's. It's so peculiar. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Like,
I've had these arguments, so I try to find out as much as I can because it's my hobby. I talk about toys. I collect toys. I have a YouTube channel dedicated to toys. So I don't want to say things without any knowledge of it. You know what I mean? So I know to tool a figure, which means to sculpt it, whether it's 3D, on a computer or have an in-house sculptor. There's a tooling process. You have to send it to China. They send you something back. That's going to be the mold for that particular figure. I heard that costs upwards to 200 grand for that process, which seems insane to me.
It does.
It really, it's insane. So they want to get their money back on that mold. So I could see why they reuse things and why the cost is where it is. But then for it to just end up at Ollie's for $5, it's just like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I just bought, now I got to go back and it was only one Ollie's that I found these at.
Yeah.
But now all of them have a lot of the G.I. Joe, the classified series.
They have a bunch of Stalker there.
I haven't found Stalker anywhere. I've found the terrible Snake Eyes from the movie.
Yeah.
And the terrible Storm Shadow from the movie. And the Baroness.
And the Baroness who looks like an art teacher.
Yes.
And Storm Shadow looks like he's like the vanilla chocolate from like the Easter bunny on Easter.
Yeah.
He's like a weird white color. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have, like, most of them have that like 3-pack that comes in 6. They're all separates, but then I've also found there was one other Ollie's that I went to that had a let's see, it was well, I bought a Crimson Guard.
Okay.
And they also had what was Zartan's chick's name? Zartana?
Yeah, Zartana with the pink hair.
Yeah. It was her.
That's a nice figure.
Crimson Guard, and a third one that I'm blanking on. But I think it was the chick ninja from the movie. Ariko or
they couldn't just name her Jinx. That'd be too easy.
Yeah, exactly. Because it wasn't Jinx.
Jinx was a sleeper fan favorite, if I remember when I was a kid. I remember kids loved that figure.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah.
A red ninja, yes.
A red, I don't know if it was because she was red, the name, you forgot that she was a female, because, boys,
yeah,
they won't admit it. We don't like playing with girls' toys. But Jinx, I don't know, it was perfect storm of a smart, great figure.
Yeah. So I picked up one of the Crimson Guards, and Aaron hit me up and was like, dude, do they have more? I'm like, if I get back to that one, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Because they had a bunch more of them.
When something went on sale for Star Wars at Target, I mean, it was like, it was a 2-pack with the blue guy that's a cowboy. I'm bad with names with these newer characters.
Yeah.
Awesome looking, awesome design for a character. Yeah, he's like a cowboy with 2 6-shooters.
It was Dusty. Dusty was the third one in that pack with the Zartana and the Crimson Guard.
That's a nice crew.
Yeah.
I got that double 2-pack for $15. It was originally $50. Okay.
Yep.
And I shared it on Instagram, and I had a YouTuber has a pretty big channel. He's like, please, can you go back and buy me one? I'll give you shipping. And I was like, yeah, I don't have a Target locally. And there's something about getting a quality figure at a clearance price. It's like, it's awesome.
Well, that Crimson Guard was $5.
That's
for
great.
for the classified.
$25 figure for $5.
Yep. And I've bought a lot of the Well, I just did almost the entire Marvel Legends controller line. The only one I don't have is the Iron Man. At let's see, $750 per figure.
And I like that build a figure. He looks nice. And then they had the Bonebreaker wave there too. Not too long ago.
They didn't. I couldn't. I still can't find the Wolverine.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the Sabretooth or the Siren at my local. So I was only able to get it was the Havoc, Vulcan, Maggot, and Darwin. So basically 3 of the 4 worst in that line.
I don't think Hasbro realizes that. So Hasbro owns the licensing to Star Wars, Marvel, and they outright own G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Those fans and collectors are usually the same person.
Yep.
So they don't realize if they put out a really good Star Wars figure the same month as a really good black G.I. Joe figure and Marvel figure, that collector can't buy every figure.
No.
So they're competing with themselves, and that's what's causing these figures to people wait, or they buy one or two, but they're not going to buy all of them, and then they just sit on shelves. And I don't know if they need to stagger the releases, or they don't care, they're not aware. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen the toy industry this guided towards adults. Which is cool because I'm an adult toy collector, but I've also never seen so many things peg warm. You know what I mean?
A lot of them, and I think here's the thing. I think they're training a lot of their buyers to wait for Ollie's. Yes. I mean, at this point, Ollie's is the fucking Hasbro outlet store.
It's like adult Toys R Us. It is a Hasbro outlet. It really is.
There's so many. I mean, the amount of like the Star Wars, both the black line and the retro line that are filling every Ollie's right now.
Huge table in the middle of the freaking Ollie's.
Yeah. And it's nothing but the black line and the retro line.
Even that stuff, I don't know if you've seen this, even that stuff is on sale from Ollie's because it moved.
Yeah, it was down to, a lot of them were down to 10, like the black series were down to 10. And
because Black
retro
series, it's characters that people I got, the bar scene where Obi-Wan cuts off that guy's arm with who's supposedly a doctor if you read his name on the box art of the figure. Like, those are cool characters and an iconic scene, but does anyone need them as toys? You would never think it as a kid. I need to have, the guy who got his arm cut off. You know what I mean?
I mean, they did make a figure for him even back in the early Kenner run.
He got the guy with the ball stack face got a figure for him, but it wasn't like you got him for Christmas and we're like, yes, I got him. It was just filler. So to have that figure on a shelf for $30 is a tough sell. So,
well, I mean, honestly, they had so many fucking Palpatines. Mm-hmm. They had C-3POs. They had there were Han Solos.
Wow.
The black line Han Solos that are sitting there not moving.
I have a theory. I think like the Black Series line is popular. Well, the Black Series line is popular, but a lot of old school collectors either just went back to vintage, because Star Wars is known for that 3 3/4 size.
Yeah.
So the diehards would rather just still collect that because then you could get the vehicles and have a whole display. And I think when Black Series first came out, it was popular because it was, a bigger mold of a Star Wars figure. I think that excitement has died down, and Hasbro doesn't. They need to keep making the figures, or they will lose the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they keep cranking them out, but it's not selling. You know that there's a Wookiee Karshik or something from the Boba Fett series. awesome looking character, awesome looking toy. $35 at Target.
Fuck that.
It just sits.
Yeah.
Target, it's not even a clearance price. Target put the price of that figure to $20, which is something they made a decision. It's just they set the price now, which is really strange.
Well, I assume they keep that in like the back wall section with the other.
No.
Or is that actually in the toy section?
It's in the toy section. That they really think that kids are not buying Black Series figures. Kids aren't buying Star Wars figures.
Well, honestly, I think Disney's handling of modern Star Wars is even killing the desire for any of the new figures.
Well, Hasbro did something recently and actually putting some of the blame for them not having a good year on Disney tanking Star Wars and Marvel.
What was the blame? Who'd they blame?
Disney for their handling of the properties. You know, that I think they quoted it as along the lines of since the
Hasbro did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Star Wars movies haven't been doing well this past couple of years, more so this year.
They're not wrong though. Like they're not wrong. You know, Disney comes out with the Captain Marvel movie, and then you have to make the toys, and you have these three, you know, really not unimaginative, but just flat characters. You know, like.
Did they? There was one recent movie that came out for Marvel or Star Wars, and Hasbro said, "Yeah, no, we're not making toys for that."
Did they even? I don't even know if they made toys for the Marvels. Did they?
That might have been the one. Yes. There was one that they just said that there was something that came out recently where they were like, "Yeah, no, we're not making toys for that."
They made it for the Marvels.
You know, they won't sell.
Oh, they did? Because I haven't seen them literally anywhere. I saw Multiverse of Madness. I've seen Guardians 3. Yeah. Now the Eternals and the both they released two different waves of Black Panther basically at the same time, the World of Wakanda and the Black Panther the legend legend line where there's not even a Build-A-Figure. And both of those, between those and Eternals, are literally just littering that. Yeah, always.
And that Black Panther line, they've pushed a heavy amount of like 5 to 12-year-old toys where they're like little mini vehicles that shoot darts and Nerf darts.
Yeah.
Hasbro owns Nerf. And they just fucking sat, man.
Yeah, the Panther Claw gauntlet thing, you could buy 50 of those things right now.
I mean, you can't have a Black Panther movie without fucking Black Panther. It's like,
well, and the other one, you know what, the one that I have seen a lot of recently is the Captain Carter, the Target exclusive version.
Okay.
The one with the all blue shield.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's 50 of them.
That's a nice looking figure, though.
It's a not bad looking figure, but it doesn't belong to any line.
No,
it's just by itself. And I must have seen. There's at least 20 to 30 of that figure in every Ollie's I've been in.
Yeah,
and I've probably been in 10 Ollie's in the last 2 months.
Yeah, I don't know what the end game is for Marvel. The movies and the toys. I know Hasbro will bring it back. They're already bringing it back to basics and releasing like a classic Sabretooth with a Wolverine and a Hulk and Wolverine.
Yeah, they're doing all those 2-packs that are coming out. The Lady Mandarin and Wolverine.
Yes, they're
and the Lalandra and Brood Wolverine.
You're right. Yes.
Yeah, I saw all those now. And they have an Angel that's coming out that looks great. Really good. And that I'm actually contemplating paying retail for it.
I don't think you won't see them at Ollie's. The good figures, the good characters are timeless. It just is what it is.
Well, I saw that Wolverine and Sabretooth pre-sold out on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like in 3 hours after it was.
Yeah.
After the pre-orders went live.
Took that long, huh? Because one of the ways I get Gunpla kits is Bandai has a sub thing called Premium Bandai. and you have to pre-order stuff, and it's not stuff that normally gets sold in stores. They've been getting a little shitty with it lately.
Yeah.
Like everything's going to this. Like, could you not?
Isn't that the worst when stuff sells out online? It's like,
But they'll put stuff up for the pre-orders, and it's gone in minutes.
what I would do
Literal
as a company,
minutes.
if I had something that sold out in an hour, I would make an announcement. Hey, we saw the excitement for this product. Give us a few weeks. We'll have the pre-order up again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And then they wonder why their sales are down. This is make the product that people want to buy.
Make 5 million whenever there's a fucking demand for it, whenever it pre-sells out.
So
then you don't just go with, well, we're making 100,000 of this figure, regardless of how much interest there is.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Make it and then say, hey, in 2 months, we're going to have another pre-order. We're going to make it. Because I know they put their order into China. They want to have it on time. And it takes, say, 3 to 6 months to get the figure produced and set here. But if you put an order in a month after that initial order, you'll have that figure again in 7 months instead of 6 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't
the other ones that I've seen a lot of, now granted, I'm only seeing the on-card Fantastic Four set.
Yeah.
That one, the only ones I'm seeing, though, I'm not seeing Mr. Fantastic, I'm not seeing The Thing, and I'm not seeing Psycho Man. But I am seeing Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and High Evolutionary. So I picked up one of the High Evolutionaries.
Is it the clear Invisible Woman? That's a cool figure.
No, it's not. It's not the clear one, which that's the one I was looking to. If they had it, I would have bought that.
That's the way I have them displayed, because it just gives them a little personality.
All mine are still in the fucking boxes. So
that movie's still going to come out, right? They're going to have freaking a Spanish guy. What's his name? Play
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, which I think he's going to do okay.
I don't know if they made that announcement yet. Did they make
official? It was just
no. That was a rumor, and then there was talking about they're going to be making the casting announcement soon. And I really have not been paying much attention to Twitter or anything for the last week, so I'm not sure.
I haven't seen anything about it. So, and you and me follow some of the same people that would comment on it, Doc.
I don't know why they just don't get Krasinski again. Everybody liked the 5 minutes
because the fans want him. That's literally what it comes down to.
Well, actually, my understanding is Kevin Feige saw the casting for it and said the cast is too white.
Yeah, I think I heard
legitimately, supposedly he said the cast is too white.
Yeah, he wants even that guy Trank who fudged up the last one. He had some dopey interview where he wanted because Human Torch is black in that one, right?
Yeah. But his sister's white.
Yeah.
And they made her.
He wanted Sue Storm to be black too, and he wanted Doom to be something weird. And he said this as if this is why the movie was terrible, because they weren't black. No, dude, the movie was terrible.
The movie just sucked.
The movie was bad because it was bad, but you also, because you had Kate Mara as Sue Storm and Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, you had to shoehorn in some explanation why siblings are completely different races.
It's so stupid. Really.
They did. I mean, they did. They had to shoehorn in a subplot about her being adopted.
Just if you want a black action hero superhero movie, make a Luke Cage film, make another Blade film,
make a Bishop film.
Bishop film would excellent. You know.
Well, they apparently remember they were going to be making the Blade movie, but it's still delayed, and they fired the director because apparently. The guy who from the 4400 whose name I can't pronounce, Musha Mushmouth Ali, he got the script and said fuck this because he's basically the fourth lead in his own movie, and it was
really
he was the fourth lead in his own movie, and it was all about
female?
It was a whole like female empowerment movie. It's a fucking Blade movie. Just give us Blade killing vampires. It's not that hard.
Someone had a
No,
good
in that
theory.
case, it's not.
Someone had a theory that, in America, pretty much, it's almost split. I think it's actually 51% of the population is women and 49% is men, right?
Yes.
And their assumption was, well, we already have the men that like these movies. They saw Endgame, they saw Iron Man, they saw Spider-Man. We already have them locked in. If we can get the other half of the country to be interested in these movies, we'll have both, right?
Yeah.
But women just don't like action movies. It's like, it is what it is.
Well, it's the same logic that they went with whenever they acquired Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah.
They said, we already own the girl demographic.
Yeah.
We need a boys thing.
Yeah.
Because Disney didn't have the boys.
Right.
Boys didn't care about Disney shit.
Okay.
And so they went out and acquired 2 boys brands and then promptly tried to turn them into 50-50 brands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
So, it doesn't, I don't know. Just sell your baked in audience.
I want Michael Bay's Frozen with fucking machine guns and lasers and aliens and titties.
They don't get it. They really don't get it, man.
They don't.
That's the same.
Well, it goes on the same thing, and you've talked about this on Comic Aficionados a few times, Doc, is how many times does a movie come out and the comic line doesn't reflect the movie at all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
At all.
Now, granted,
just before the second Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, they killed Doctor Strange.
Yeah, they killed Doctor Strange in the comics like a month before the movie comes out. Or
and
3 months
the comic that's coming out has Clea as Doctor Strange.
And they don't understand that nerd culture likes, they don't like to be pandered to, but they also like things authentic, and they like it for the reason. They like Superman because he is this clean-cut, dorky, everyday white guy. That's why they like Superman.
Yeah.
They like Blade because he's this badass black dude. When you try to mess with that and pander to people, it's not authentic, and then no one's happy.
Well, I wouldn't say nerds don't like being pandered to, but I think it's more along the lines of they don't mind being pandered to as long as it's not being made to be obvious.
Also,
good point.
Also, nerds, sadly, they can smell bullshit.
They can sometimes.
Sometimes.
Was it where nerds can, but when they're super fans, nerds can, super fans don't. Like, who's this chick that did the Ashoka show, which wasn't that bad?
Oh, Rosario Dawson.
Some Star Wars event where they had the director come out there, and it was some lady, and people were just roaring for this lady, and like she never even did anything before. She was like I think she wrote like comedy or something weird. It's like, well, why are you so excited? Just because she works for Star Wars? Like,
yeah, I mean, we all saw how Chuck Wendig did.
Yeah.
He's no longer touching Star Wars.
Well, they won't let him, mostly because people started actually reading what he had written. And literally, like, all of Star Wars fandom just started laughing at it.
What about that chick who wrote that book? And she literally had, like, a character that was like a rock.
Yeah. The all that High Republic stuff, which is their second crack at non-Skywalker centric Star Wars.
Yeah.
Everybody just went, it's a rock.
Yeah.
It's a rock that's the ship's captain.
That's a figure that be at your next Ollie is a rock.
Yeah, that one, I don't even know if it ever got made into a figure.
No, of course not.
It's like, I mean, at that point, I could just go out, hey, look, I found 50 of him in my backyard. Yeah. Look at that. I mean, that it might as well be a pet rock. Now, that's...
I assume you saw the meme that came out for that people were making fun of it. Like, oh, here's the action figure. It was literally a rock from outside in action figure packaging.
That book actually came out and was published?
It did.
Yes, and it didn't sell worth a shit.
No, and they're still trying to keep the High Republic stuff going, but they keep rebooting it back to issue 1. I think that's where Charles Soule has been at for the last couple of years. Because I got into this with Wes, I'm like, what the fuck's Charles Soule even doing anymore? And he's like, he's on Star Wars. I'm like, oh, I don't count that.
It's like, I reiterate, what the fuck is he even doing at this
Yeah,
point?
exactly.
It's dead. The horse has been beaten to death, you know.
But no, like the I know that like Neon from Clownfish, he lives like an hour north of me. So him and I are always kind of busting each other's balls about who's always has more Hasbro shit right now.
Yeah, you posted that one picture of the entire wall of the D&D box game.
Yes.
I mean, I kind of want to check my local Ollie's and just to see what kind of tabletop stuff they do have.
Oh, now, supposedly they had some. Did we talk about this, Bill?
Yeah, it was a $100 board game that they were selling for $9.95.
Yeah, $9.99, and then they had the $50 game that was the campaign case for $4.
What game was it? A D&D set or?
It was.
Yeah, it was a box game. It was a board game.
I heard that Resident Evil game isn't too bad. Tabletop game.
There's a lot of good tabletop games. It's just the problem is, like, for example, there's a Dark Souls one.
What's the problem? Getting people to play it?
There's that and the fucking price.
Yeah. The $100 one was the Warriors of Kyrin.
Warriors of Kryn, yeah.
Okay.
That's the name of the Dragonlance world.
Okay. And then there was a D&D campaign case terrain.
Yeah, that's all for like setting up like a physical map on your table.
And there was another campaign case that I can't read from my phone. Oh, Creatures.
So it's probably minis.
And yeah, at Ollie's.
At Ollie's. Yeah, the Warriors of Kryn game was $100 marked down to $10. And the 2 campaign cases were both $50 marked down to $4.
Wow.
Now, granted, a lot of those did actually move during the Ollie's Army days, mostly because in addition to the fact that they were already marked down 90%, then there was an extra 20 or 25% off of that. So you got for $7.50 for $100 pack and $3 for a $50 pack.
I gotta go to Ollie's tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing is that one thing is like board games are expensive. Like case in point, I'll reuse this. The Dark Souls board game utilizes miniatures. So not only is the base game like $70 to $100, they've released additional minis.
Wow.
And they look good, and I wouldn't say they're to scale, but for example, you're fighting you're engaging in a fight against, like, say, I think what they did is minis. Like a Black Knight, for example. The Black Knight's going to be taller than your player character mini.
Okay.
Or like the Asylum Demon is large. So then you're turning around spending like $40-$50 for a single mini.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Dude, when it comes to minis and board games or tabletop games, you prepare to get bent the fuck over. My buddy who's in the chat now, Pope Metallicus, can attest to this. Go look at the price of a starter set for Warhammer.
I never. That's one thing I've always appreciated from afar. I never like.
Last I knew, and this was years ago, the starter set was like $100 to $120.
Well,
and you really weren't getting a lot out of it.
A couple of friends would be smart to like chip in because you're going to play it together. Ideally.
Well, no, that's just for your army. It's not like everybody has to have their own army.
So it's almost like pay to win.
Almost, yeah. And there's more than just the Space Marines. You have the Space Marines, you have the Tau, you have the Orcs, you have the Chaos Marines, and there's different factions and vehicles and.
Well, circling back to Hasbro, because Hasbro bought D&D, right?
Yeah.
So they just
bought Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast. They laid off 1,100 people. Rumor is a majority of that 1,100 were people that were on the D&D side. So.
major higher ups too, because again,
You buy a company just to lay people off and fire them. It's
there
like,
you go. The
Well,
Pope just, here, take a look at this. The Pope just mentioned this.
in fairness, I'm betting that Wizards had a shit ton of redundancies
Oh, probably.
with like, especially in the
19.
like in the front office
Mm-hmm.
folks that they that you know, Hasbro, I guarantee, has all those tasks already covered by 3 people. They didn't need four for to do
There's
that
that,
job.
and I also think too, and this is something Neon brought up in a video. The guys that made Baldur's Gate 3 had a post that they since deleted off Twitter, pretty much saying like, "Oh, you know, it sucks hearing some of the people we were at in a meeting with discussing Baldur's Gate 3 are no longer working for the company." So
Why?
if you're in a meeting discussing getting a video game getting made,
Yeah.
you're high up on that food chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also
But
think
you're also
too, they
probably
had
redundant.
probably redundant, and I think the OGL 1.1 fiasco made it a lot easier just to go, yeah, we're getting rid of some of you people.
I
You
don't
cost
know.
us so much goodwill.
I literally don't. I don't know fuck all about D&D. I've never played, never cared. All I knew was I walked into Ollie's and they had
And saw
literally
that.
an entire
wall.
wall. I'm like, I have no idea if any of this D&D crap is
When I
good
go
or
to
shit.
so Toy Wiz is a good toy store, but their prices aren't good.
Their
And
prices are retarded on so many levels.
but they have a cool back room where people play all tabletop games,
Mm-hmm.
and it's where they have like the grass and the hills and it's fucking wild to look at. So I guess there's still a market for it. I mean, that room is filled up every time I go, people playing. So
I
this
can't support them just on their pricing alone. Like my buddy who
Toy Wiz, yeah.
builds Gunpla as well, and his wife works. Maybe it's the same town Toy Wiz is at down in Rockland.
Yeah.
And he went in. They carried Gunpla. He sent me a text. He's like, "Yeah, this kit. I forgot which one it was. It was like a $40 kit at the actual Gundam model shops.
Yeah.
They wanted 95.
They're clueless. They're totally. It's funny.
I mean, I know their rent is through the roof considering their, what county they're in.
Yeah. Back in the Toys R Us days, they would have their employees hunt for figures and buy it that day and resell it that day at the store for, double or triple the price. So that's the kind of store they are.
Yeah.
Which is, it's odd to me. I thought you couldn't mark stuff up if you were considered retail. It's because this guy in Middletown, right?
What, Main Street?
Main Street Comics. This figure right here, for some reason, I guess because the show is season 2 just kicked off, right?
Yeah.
This Invincible figure.
Omni-Man, yeah.
Omni-Man. It's a $25 figure, and I was like, all right, I'm starting to get into this show. Let me hop on Amazon. Wasn't available on Amazon. Go on eBay. This figure is $100 on eBay, and it's barely 2 years old, right? To that store's credit, in Middletown, he had it for retail, $25. Okay? Toy Wiz would have this for $120. So I don't know how they get away with it. I thought you weren't allowed to upmark.
Well, it is called the manufactured suggested retail price.
Yeah, they can sell for literally any price that they want.
So that's just unethical then. It's just them being assholes.
Yeah, it's them.
Pretty much.
It's a great place if you ever want to take a ride, if you're bored, want to go on a road trip. New Hope, Pennsylvania, Phantasm Comics. Guy has everything from, crazy underground, not underground, but like cult classic DVDs to graphic novels to comics and toys for me, And he had stuff that he could have sold for way above price that, 5-year-old figures I haven't seen in a long time. he was like, he's like, I want to be able to sell it. I don't want to like overcharge for stuff. I was like, hey, I'm glad.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the wrong side of Pennsylvania for that.
Yeah, I've made that drive. That drive sucks.
Well, what's fun?
All across the state of Pennsylvania, going Route 80 all the way across.
Yeah, New Hope is weird. New Hope is
That's closer to us, isn't it?
closer
Yeah,
to us.
it's literally on the border. It's right next to it's directly across the river from Lambertville
Okay, nice town too. It just
and Mount Airy.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so it's by the Poconos.
Yeah, a little north of Trenton.
Okay. But yeah, it's as Pope here put it. Hi, 40K nerd here. I will be perpetually poor. The most expensive 40K mini is the Warlord Titan, and it's $1,900.
Now, is that because it's old and never remade again, or is it just so popular, or what does that mean?
Or was that the MSRP?
That could just be.
I'm assuming it's an older figure that people want.
Well, that's just it though. These aren't just like collectible figures. They're actually used for the game.
It's like a magic card though. That figure has like health points and all that, right?
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, I don't really know much about 40K tabletop. I know a little bit. The only bits and pieces I know about it is from playing various video games.
Did you play Hero Clicks when that was popular for like a year? The Marvel Hero Clicks?
No. I was working at I was working at Dragon's Den at the time when that was a thing, because they also had started coming out with the D&D version.
It was cool though. I really, I got them. I didn't play a game at all. I'm a video game guy.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up playing D&D and various shit like that.
Yeah.
So I've always, but like as I was saying with board games, the problem you run into is A, they can be very expensive, and B, you could turn around and drop money on something and not have fun with it.
That sucks. And it's not like a video game where you can at least trade it in, or I don't know.
I mean, you could probably sell a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, you could probably turn around and resell it, depending on eBay or something like that. But there is always that chance of just buying something and the game just sucking.
And now, and I know with like a lot of them that have like the figurines that you use for it, people will sit there and tediously hand paint them.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
My friend is painting all his Resident Evil ones, and I can respect it. It looks it's not for me. It's too small to scale, but it's a hobby. Everything to keep the mind going.
Yeah. And Fiend Machine, you were absolutely right. Trying to get your friends together to play is also like pulling teeth and hurting cats at the same time.
That's the shitty part. You gotta have friends that are down to play, and
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no.
The only board game that I've invested any money into is a game called Talisman.
Okay.
But I had a chance to play. We have it on the Xbox. But I had a chance to play the video game version first, and it's just pretty much a one-to-one recreation of the board game. And I was like, oh, this could be fun. Okay, sure. And then...
I'm a Clue guy.
I'll play Monopoly.
Clue's my jam.
Clue's always good. Risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the times I've played Risk with the guys, it's turned into like a UN meeting.
Oh, you know what? And on another thing with Hasbro still owns a lot of board games, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
do they own Monopoly?
Do they own Parker Brothers outright?
I think they do. Yeah.
They do.
Okay, because there is
they do
so much fucking different Monopoly games sitting at Ollie's right now too. There's their like Monopoly Millionaires. There's a Monopoly at Home. I guess it's like the COVID version.
Well, like what do you play it like virtually?
And then there was the World of Wakanda. There was the Eternals Monopoly. There's
oh my god,
World Traveler Monopoly, and there was a fourth one that's in like a blue box set thing that like it looks like a blue crate.
Yeah, Hasbro definitely owns, because Hasbro put out the shitty Battleship movie. That was a Hasbro product.
Okay.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they put out G.I. Joe. Thank God
Transformers.
Thank God Battleship tanked, because you don't want to see like Operation the movie, you know.
Hey, I'm still waiting for that Trouble movie with a Pop-O-Matic bubble.
Yeah, Trouble and Payday.
But yeah, no, like there's an entire, one of those giant rolling cart table things that they have at Ollie's.
Yeah.
One of those just filled with Monopoly games.
It's funny because even at Target though, like all them games go on clearance for like $5. So.
Yeah.
I mean, considering the amount of money, not money, but the amount of variations they have of Monopoly these days.
It's so stupid.
Because there was a point in time when even GameStop would have stacks of,
Mario
Simpsons Monopoly, Mario Monopoly, Zelda Monopoly, The Simpsons Monopoly, Lord of the Rings Monopoly, Game of Thrones Monopoly. Like, it's the same goddamn game.
Oh yeah, they have the Lord of the Rings Monopoly at.
I guess I'd rather buy, like Bowser's Castle and Boardwalk.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's where your
taste. There's some charm there.
You could buy the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, I guess
just hang out there, and
there's some charm there. I can't really.
I mean, it did get to a point of pure insanity, though. After a point when everything and its mother had its own. Like, I think they made a Sopranos Monopoly game. I'm not kidding. I'm pretty sure they did.
Fiend Machine. I think we are going to have to pass on Chutes and Ladders, especially themed versions of Chutes and Ladders. Maybe a multiple versions of Life. That's what we need.
Don't give me any ideas.
Fucking funny, man.
There was some version of Office Risk at the and I'm guessing at that point you can get sexual harassment charges. I don't know what the point of Office Risk is.
Like the show The Office, or
no, it was like not for the show, like Office Jobs version of Risk, like themed Risk, and I'm like, I don't know. How do you lose? You get fired?
There's also a few variations on Risk too. There's one that you got your standard where it's the Napoleonic era, which everybody knows, but then they have one for medieval. They have one that's Lord of the Rings. They have one set into the future. I think there's a Halo version of Risk too out there, I think.
But they did remake this, and they remade 2 board games, and I swore I was going to buy them, but I didn't. They remade Fireball Island, okay, but it's too expensive. And they remade Crossbows and Catapults, which
did they really? I had that as a kid.
The Minotaur throwing the rock and the battering ram and the walls you set up. That was an incredible game. I would play that tonight if I had everything.
And oddly enough, I can remember getting that game as a kid when it was on clearance.
Oh, I had a friend that was kind of a wingnut, and I knew he had that game, so I kind of just had to deal with his craziness just to be able to play it with him. But it was like high anxiety because in between like rounds, he's like yelling up to his grandmother for food, kind of like what's his name in Will Ferrell in The Wedding Crashers, and he's yelling up to his aunt for food and bring down the soda. He was like Eric Cartman, basically. But I dealt with it just to play that game. It was an incredible game, man.
The sacrifices you had to make as a kid just to enjoy certain things you didn't own.
I had a few friends like that. I had a friend that lived across the street that like never showered and like stunk to high, heaven. And he had like a few really good Nintendo games, and I would try to trade with him. And it was like pulling teeth, and he'd always want like 3 games to trade for 1. And he stunk like shit. And I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Yep. He was a character.
And then there was another character I'm not going to say his name again, not to dox the poor guy, but there's someone I'm thinking of that was also a bit of a wingnut we went to school with. That was a big video game guy. You know who I'm referring to, right?
Probably, but I this guy was more. This guy's not. He was
No. When I say wingnut, this guy was legitimately crazy.
like insane back then. He was.
He got that way by the time we got to high school.
Well, now he's legitimately insane. Like he's in a place.
Yeah. So you know who I'm talking about then.
I do. Poor guy's like on social media asking for Bill Gates to help him.
Oh,
He's like,
all right.
Crazy. He's crazy. He's beyond. He's lost it.
Well, I forgot who said it. I don't remember if it was you or another friend of ours that said at one point he got hit in the head with a hammer.
I didn't know.
And then once that happened, he turned into a whole different person.
That'll do it. That'll totally do it.
Generally, hitting someone in the head with a hammer is going to have a little bit of an effect.
Yeah. That's why I prefer ball peen hammers. Get the most effect.
Yeah, I gotta go to Ollie's. I think I'm gonna go to Ollie's tomorrow and hunt for these board games and cheap toys and.
Oh yeah,
nothing better.
As I said, I picked up about 6 of those Hiss tanks.
Yeah.
Left one in the box, took one out, and sent 4 to Aaron Sparrow.
So,
$12 a piece.
Do you know about the big classified Hiss tank that the box?
Yeah.
Now, what's your thoughts on the HasLab? Do you think it's bullshit?
I think HasLab in general is some bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wildly overpriced and intentionally underproduced.
Yeah.
Like, I get the idea of like, hey, you want to figure out whether or not this product has a market. And I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once you
establish that it has a market.
But once you establish that it has a market, then first of all, you need to, instead of just gouging your HasLab backers on the initial, see if there's actually like marketability for it. Is it enough to justify not paying $500 for $400, $300, whatever it may be for a product? But then once you've reached that point, do it at $100 and ask for 3 times as many backers, 4 times as many.
That thing, I saw it in person. It's not the Hiss tank itself. It's just triangles on wheels, basically. It's not like an intricately designed. It's not the U.S. Enterprise or anything. You know what I mean? No. It's just cool looking for what it is. It's simple. It's on tank treads that are weirdly shaped, and it's not that big of a piece. I thought it was going to be this big for some reason. It's really not a shoebox, but a little speaker, more or less, like the speaker for your subwoofer for your soundbar, right?
Yeah.
That thing could have been $100 on store shelves.
Yes,
so
and then
they inflated the price by giving people extra figures, turrets that don't even belong on the Hiss tank, and they ballooned the price up to $350, and that's where they made their money, on this extra frivolous crap that cost them nothing, and it's really almost predatory, because if you didn't say yes, I want it, you couldn't get it. You had to say yes within that time frame.
Yeah. And so what they needed to do was, instead of asking, I don't know what they needed, 5,000 backers, 3,000 backers.
That one was 10,000?
Okay. So
and it finished at a random number, 13,589.
So drop the price down to 100.
Yeah.
And ask for 30,000 backers.
Yep.
And now it might be a bigger stretch, but you have a larger market that would maybe be interested. Somebody like me,
I don't understand.
I might have been interested. And then what you do is, for those backers that back it,
But why can't they also?
What you do is you give them those extra like figures.
Oh, there you go.
But then you still go to market with everything. You put one figure in the case, put 3 on, if there's 4 or 5 figures that come with it as a backer.
Yep. I agree.
As a backer, you get the tank, you get 5 figures for that $100. Yep. When it hits store shelves,
you don't get all that.
No, you just get the tank and 1 figure, and then you have the other 4 figures that you sell on card.
Absolutely.
To the stores, and people can buy them at retail. And instead of making only the 33,000 or 35,000 that back it,
yep,
you go at 100. You go to 100,000, 50,000, and you put them on store shelves. You've already made your money. So even if those figures don't move, if those toys don't move, they'll move at Ollie's on the cheap because everything there is just gravy money at that point.
Well, my friend was like, "Oh, you sound like you're pissing and moaning, and it's just sour grapes. Why didn't you just back it?" I'm like, first of all, last year when it was announced, I didn't have a lot of faith in the line. There was only a few figures that looked classic, like Barbecue, and the Cobra Commander wasn't bad, and Destro. And they didn't have these big announcements that they were going to... Hasbro isn't known to, like, if something fails, they usually give up on it. They're not known to keep taking the risks. So I was like, I didn't know the line was going to be where it's at a year later. So you want me to, in good faith, buy a vehicle that might not have figures surrounding it? That makes no sense.
The figures. Now, this is me trying to remember a couple of years ago when they first announced, the return of the 3 3/4 figures. Weren't they supposed to be Walmart exclusive?
They were for a second.
Okay. I never saw a single one in any of my Walmarts.
They blew up. They would, to their credit, you probably didn't see them because they actually had them at a decent price point. They were under $15 at that time.
Yeah, I thought they were like 12 or 13, something like that.
They would come in on what's called a shipper, right? The built-in cardboard, ready to go display. And zany collectors, man, they would buy the entire shipper because they want their room to look like a fucking store or something.
Toy store, yeah.
So, every once in a while I can defend Hasbro. You don't know how many, like they did try with that and it did do okay, but the classified line is kind of, that's why they're letting Super 7 do the O-ring stuff now. There's no risk to them. The line is still out there. They're getting a little bit of money, but there's no risk.
Okay.
Man, that HasLab, I should be able to tonight go on the online store and buy it on HasbroPulse.com.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You already, I know that, like, I was talking to Aaron. I think he's still waiting for his.
Right. I don't understand. So it stopped at some weird number because they, at midnight, whatever the date was, it stops. And it happened to stop at 13,889. You'd think they'd be like, you know what? Let's just make 20,000 and sell it on the site. Like you said, without the figures, without those extra perks.
Yeah. And sell it for maybe the same amount without the extra perks, or maybe knock $50 off.
I would, and there's something called the impulse buy. It's usually done, in the store, but it's done with online shopping a lot.
Yes.
There could be like a Friday night where you got ahead of your bills and you got some extra cash and you'd be like, I'm buying this dopey thing.
Yes.
That's cool.
No. I've I'm a big comic guy. Like that's where Imperatus and I know each other from. I mostly talk comics. I like toys to some degree. I'm not a huge toy guy. Only recently with just buying shit out of Ollie's. Like, am I buying any toys? Now I have some toys that are like older. Some of my like original stuff that I never even bothered to open, like back when I was a kid. Like I have like one of the X-Force line from fucking Toy Biz.
Yeah.
And one of my friends got me one of the original Toy Biz Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Still on card and everything. So, and then with always having them recently, I've been buying some of them up. But
Yeah.
I talk about this with comics all the time when it comes to the comic industry and why it is shrinking itself so badly. It's because they stopped being impulse buys.
Mm-hmm.
They're $4, $5, $6, $7, $10 a comic now.
Oh.
You can't even get into a place like Target or Walmart or even the grocery stores and fucking convenience stores, like the spinner racks that were there when we were a kid.
The best.
But they were under $2. Under $2.
I was thinking about the spinner rack and like I go to Stewart shop and I go to wherever I go, Quick Check randomly. Just for nostalgia. I mean, if they had spinner racks there, just for the feeling of being 14 again, I would buy a fucking chocolate milk and a ring ding and a comic book.
Yeah,
that's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, it is, and the impulse buy for like a comic book is under $2. That's the price point.
Yeah, it's a sweet
spot. For a toy, it's under $10.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're doing, like, I mean, I can go back and you see like some of the original, like if you go and try to find like an original on card 80s G.I. Joe, half the time it's still going to have the store's price tag on it, and it was $2.99.
Yeah.
But if they're able to sell it even at $9.99, brand new, they would quadruple their sales.
I know.
In a heartbeat. But they're marketing to a collector audience.
And the window, unless there's a ton of dads out there getting their sons into collecting, which I
doubt.
Well, it's funny with my channel, like YouTube will tell me the demographic of the people that watch.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming those are also people that are buying toys. And it's 28 to 35 is the biggest number.
Okay.
So that's pretty good for the toy industry because, their lifespan is 20 years longer than mine. So it's 20 years more selling toys. But I don't know how much longer that can go on for. It is going to end.
Yes.
Because there is no one like collecting Lone Ranger and Howdy Doody stuff anymore. Those people are moved on. You know what I mean?
Most of them have moved on from this mortal coil.
Yeah. Granted, those things have died off, and Star Wars and Marvel hasn't. They will still be around, but I don't know. It's interesting. The comics are almost like toys. See, toys are in Target and toys are selling well, but I don't know how well. We just saw with these Hasbro layoffs, and there's maybe because there's more competition. It's interesting. It's hard to find the numbers on toy sales. It's almost like they don't want you to know. It's really
they don't. They don't. It's the same thing with the comic industry. That's why
you
take Western.
Now, I couldn't even find video game sales are hard to find now.
Mm-hmm. They don't want to release that info anymore either. Nope. And I think it's got to do with the fact that all these industries are targeting a more and more and more niche audience. And I understand.
Yeah.
Trying to sell to the collector. I am a collector. Like I am a hardcore fucking comic collector.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. While I might spend an absurd amount of money on a back issue, I'm not going to keep reading monthly, as well as I'm not going to be buying, $10 comics to hand to a kid.
Yeah.
No.
So that they can get their fucking pizza hands on it and possibly, roll it up and stick in their back pocket. It needs to be a disposable product.
Yeah.
That collect. And collectors, like the collector mentality, is a natural outgrowth of disposable product, because there's only a few people out there that want the thing that's already been disposed of by everyone else.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, comics have gotten into like I'm sure people read them, but it really has also gotten into buying a graded comic and putting it on my wall.
Yeah,
that's what Scott does.
Really.
Yeah, his collection is sitting in a couple $100,000 at this point.
Oh, wow.
Because he's got stuff like Avengers #4, the first appearance of Cap, in modern day. I believe he has an Avengers #1. He's got the first appearance of Sabretooth. He's got, Daredevil #1. He's got some stuff.
It's a big market too. It's serious. I'll never forget my Comic-Con story where I saw that fancy guy that had the Detective Comics #1 or whatever, the Batman first appearance. And it was like, I don't know, 200 grand in the glass case.
Yeah.
And I'm on my knees taking a picture of it and just admiring it. And I hear a conversation with the owner to his employee. He was like, I have a $300,000 comic here. You're not going to fucking sit down on this stool today, are you? And the guy was like, sir, I'm sorry. He didn't want the kid to be seen sitting down, like you're going to make this sale or be at attention this whole time at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
It's a big deal in that industry, the higher end stuff.
It is. And the not that long ago, you had like the X line or Amazing Spider-Man routinely, and Batman routinely selling every month well over 100,000 copies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
We're probably, and that's only like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You get into 20, 30 years ago, they were selling 250,000, 500,000 units of every issue. Now they're probably selling
10,
40,
20,000.
40 or 50.
The rise of manga or whatever?
That's part of it.
Part of it's manga. Part of it's the fact that the quality on the creatives has drastically reduced. Anybody that's
bad, art's been bad.
Yeah, anybody that's got a decent story that they want to tell, they keep it for their whatever their bullshit Netflix pitch that's concealed as a comic book actually is. And they self-publish it. Because page rates are literally the same or lower than they were in 1995, in like 1992. Like 30 years later, they're still paying artists and writers the same or less than they were 30 years ago. And, I'm not even saying a inflation adjusted less. If it was $150 a page for art back then, it's $130 now.
Okay.
And for writing, whatever it was, and probably the same or up to 30% lower. So the creatives, nobody can make a living in it anymore. So the only people that do it are people that just want to be there for whatever reason. Some of it is for weird culture war stuff.
Sure. It's weird.
Yeah, but it's there. And then. But they're not moving units, and the price keeps going up. They're on that like death spiral of we're selling less units, but we're paying our sunk cost for our creative and publishing is about the same, but we're moving less units and less units.
So does Disney own the comic book side of Marvel?
Yes,
they own everything.
And Warner Brothers owns the DC. And they're going to merge with Paramount, I think.
Supposedly, they're at least in talks. They had already, remember, Time Warner got sold to AT&T like 5 years ago.
That was longer than that, dude.
Now, is the ship going to sail, or the comics industry you ever think it'll just be fucking gone?
In its current form, apparently there's been retailers in the last couple of months that have come out and said they have 2 years to fix this, or else we won't be here.
That is scary, man.
Like the direct market
Yeah.
won't be there anymore. So they're going to be trying to figure out how to work in a different market.
You think it's like not superhero fatigue? That's like a movie thing, but like it's been Spider-Man, Batman, Wolverine for so long. Do you think that kids growing up are like, it's my dad likes Superman, I want something new?
There's a little bit of that probably, but I think what it is first you have bad creative. You have 80 years in the case of Batman and Superman. You have 80 years in the case of Spider-Man, Avengers, and X-Men. You got like 60 years.
Yeah.
So you're like 85 years on Superman and Batman now. And so a lot of the things that can be done with those characters have been.
Yeah, done.
So you need people that are really, really creative to come up with something new to do with these characters without fundamentally altering. Like you can't
Spider-Man has a new comic out now called like Gang Wars or Street Wars.
Gang War.
And just Spider-Man fighting like criminals in the street?
Yeah, it's a bunch of gangs fighting each other and Spider-Man trying to stop a gang war.
I heard it's good though. Is that true?
I don't know. I literally stopped buying new comics about a year ago.
Okay.
For the first time in 35 years.
Yeah.
And so I completely stopped buying all comics. But my point is, you need somebody very creative to do something very new with these characters, and all the people that are really creative are making money in fields that aren't comics now.
There you go.
Or if they are making money in comics, they're doing their own thing.
Yeah. So these and the publishers have reached I think they passed a point of no return a long time ago, where they can't stay profitable while fixing themselves. But because they are owned by giant global mega corporations, they theoretically can operate them as loss leaders to rebuild the market for a period of time. But right now, both of those companies, Warner Discovery and Disney, respectively, they're not in very good financial positions.
No.
So they're trying to cut costs everywhere they can. So the idea of running any of their divisions as a loss leader right now is in order to fix it. Even if it's only a short-term loss, long-term gain kind of situation, right now they need to make money now.
Yeah.
So they're going to keep riding the same, diminishing returns down until, they're probably going to try to do something with outsourcing, with licensing their products out to somebody, but it's not going to work.
No.
Because, and the reason why is there's only been 2 cases where technically outsourcing their comics has worked. And in both cases, it's not through a licensing deal. When you license it, the publisher that buys it, all you're doing is playing hot potato with something that you can't make money on, but that a publisher thinks will raise their profile so that there are things that they can make money on do better. IDW did it with all the Hasbro licensing. If they thought it would raise their profile, but Hasbro, in the same way that Marvel and DC Comics would be in this position of, is they would want basically what their profit is right now as the licensing fee. Well, the problem is then there's no profit for the person that's licensing because you've left no meat on the bone. So they would have to not only pay their production plus whatever the profit that Marvel and DC is making right now in the licensing fee. Then they still have to make a profit on top of that, and whatever percentage of sunk costs they need for profit for their margin, especially if they're a publicly traded company like some of them are. You'd have to sell better than the actual owner is able to do right now in order to justify it. That doesn't work. The way that it's worked and been successful in the past is in the 90s, whenever they did the Heroes Reborn, and basically they gave Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee a big bag of money and said, we need 24 issues of character and title X and Y from you, and A and B from you. And however here's how much your budget is, basically. Whatever you make, if you can get a profit out of that, then great. But you're not getting any money on the back end. We take in all the money, all the revenue, because we're essentially paying for the investment. And basically they would take whatever their actual line budget was for those books and just give it to somebody else and say, you do it better because you could apparently run it better. And it did. It worked. Yeah. And it worked also whenever they gave it to Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti for their Marvel Knights line in the 1999, 2000. And to the point where it worked so well that Joe Quesada ended up hired and promoted to editor-in-chief of Marvel.
Wow.
They hired outside people, said, here, you run the line. Here's your budget. Whatever, here's your fee to do it. You can figure out how to make it work. And we want this many issues in this period of time. If you can make that work, great. And anything that you make that's your profit. So they were essentially making, the third parties were being paid to license something. That works, but they're not going to want to do that because that means they still have to
pay someone.
They still have to pay somebody instead of be able to bring in money, and they still have to manage, the publishing contracts, the printing contracts and shit like that.
There has to be something they're doing, like writing it off or.
Well, the other thing too is you got to be careful with licensing stuff because just look at IDW. All they had was licensed products, and they fucked them up so bad that their stock was down to 10 cents a share or some ridiculous.
It got delisted from the exchange because of their amount of debt, and
they had titles like Transformers, Walking Dead.
No, Walking Dead was Image.
Oh,
right.
Image.
That's Skybound.
They had Ghostbusters, which was actually good. Turtles, Transformers, that stuff, G.I. Joe, all that stuff. They had were licensed products, and after a while, they tanked them all, and they tanked their company.
And the few things that they actually did own, they tried to turn into TV shows.
Yeah.
Lock and Key for Netflix.
Yeah,
they owned that. And
there's so
Winona
Earp.
No. Oh yeah, there's so much competition.
If you go into a comic book shop, I mean, there's just so many different covers, so many different characters and books. It makes your head spin almost. It's I understand they're only owned by so many companies, but you're almost in competition with yourself, are you not?
Yeah, well, sometimes they're, in my opinion, they're cannibalizing their own audience.
Yeah. And I'm not even a comic book guy anymore, and I can see that.
But here's the other thing. Right now, there is almost 600 different titles published every month.
Holy shit.
Across the entire direct market that you can order in the direct market.
That's
20 years.
Not just Marvel and DC. That's everybody.
What do you think it was?
I know what it was
in 1965.
In 1965, it was probably about 100 total. And that
seems like the sweet spot to me.
Well, you had a couple, if you look backwards, 20 years ago, it was 300. There was 300 books.
Yeah.
And they were selling double what they are in units wise for half the price that they are right now.
Okay.
If you go back 30 years,
Yeah.
there was 200 books on the market selling at a third of the price and selling 5 times what they're selling right now.
So less is more.
Less is more. Between like essentially analysis paralysis, or the paradox of too much choice resulting in customers freezing up and not buying anything.
Exactly. Sure.
That's where you get.
I watch the comic book channel and I enjoy it, even though I don't read, but I like to know about these things. And they'll go through their weekly purchases, and I'm like, you just rattled off 20 different comics. All I picked up was Spider-Man because that's who I know as a toy and a character I enjoyed as a kid. How do you even follow all these story arcs and decipher, what you're going to continue on and read or collect? You can't buy them all because they are expensive, like you mentioned earlier. I just don't get it. I don't get why the need for so many.
There isn't. There's not really a market demand, and as you can, in my opinion, about 80% of quote unquote indie. Yeah. So basically, outside of Marvel, DC, and Image. Actually, you know what? Marvel and DC. Outside of Marvel and DC, probably 80% of the non-Marvel and DC titles are, in my opinion, borderline vanity publishing.
Okay, that's funny you said, because I bought something just because I liked the cover. It was like the Slob. Was it the Slob? The something. It was like some bastard on the cover, or the scumbag, something.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is unique and it's cool and it's clever. But is the scumbag going to be some, perpetual seller through the years?
No. And I know that title. It's relatively new. It's only got maybe 6 issues out so far, 10 issues, something like that.
Yeah.
And it'll last for 18, 24 issues until the guy either gets his Netflix deal.
Yeah, like you said, it's like an artist, a high-end artist that has some unique idea that just wants it to catapult him into a Netflix show.
Yes. The comic industry is a stepping stone for so many of the creators into where they actually want to be, which is Hollywood. It's not a destination industry anymore.
I can see that. It's totally like they're using it.
And most of it it's borderline vanity publishing by that, what I really mean is it sells so few copies that I don't understand how it makes anyone money.
Yeah, but like you just mentioned, it's the hope that, okay, this was a cool idea. It's not comic book worthy, but we'll do a Netflix special because comic book readers don't get this kind of art,
Yes, and now there's a lot of them that fancy themselves artistes. Bitch, you're in commercial art.
Yeah.
If it doesn't sell, it's not good. That's what it comes down to. Sorry. You might have written the great American graphic novel, but if it didn't sell, nobody gives a fuck. If The Great Gatsby didn't sell millions of copies, it wouldn't be considered the great American novel. It'd be considered something that some guy wrote because he was bored. So
the weird thing, man, comics have gotten.
You have no idea.
Yeah, I'm glad they exist, but they don't exist like we mentioned. There's no spinner rack at the freaking Stewart shop.
Nope.
Part of the charm to me is gone when that isn't prevalent. And the comic book shop, I'm glad they still exist, but when I go into one as a casual fan, my fucking head is spinning, man.
You're overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed. And I go right to the toys.
Yes. And that's, I think, what a lot of non-readers, and that's what I always come back to. People are like, oh yeah, well, $5 isn't that bad for a comic. I'm like, if you're not reading comics, are you trying 22 pages of art and story for $5? No.
Yeah.
You're not. You're not. If you're not currently doing it, you're not starting it at that price.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta make it impulse buy worthy.
Yeah.
Like, I literally have a spinner rack right behind me.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those, the old ones that had Spider-Man,
Yep.
Superman, Archie, and Casper or
Yeah.
something on the top, and it said "Hey
Yes.
Kids Comics."
Yeah.
Yeah,
The best.
they don't exist anymore.
Nope.
I would go to my corner store, and they always had Spider-Man and Wolverine, and X-Men.
Yeah.
So those were my go. I liked them characters to begin with, so that was no problem. But then, like, I would randomly buy, they had Excalibur for a minute, so I got into that book, and it was just like an impulse buy. Like, I would buy my snack for the night and a comic for the night, and it was an experience. When you suck that out and you don't give that to a kid anymore. Now, is a kid riding his bike to the store like they were in the 80s and 90s? No. But they're going with their mom. They're going with their dad,
And
I work at a grocery store, and the route I walk to get into the back to clock in, I walk right down the aisle that has all the magazines. I remember as a kid, there'd be a good third of that. I'd say about a third of that section would be comics.
Yeah, you'd go look at them and while your mom shopped,
Yeah, or your mom would be like, "It's $1.25. Fuck it."
Right.
This will keep you busy while I'm shopping.
Right.
So you're not annoying me trying to get your fourth bag of Oreos.
Right.
Or the 11th different snack food you want.
Maybe when you give up on the young reader like that, and your assumption is all kids aren't going to buy it. They like manga or their cell phone or Fortnite. When you give up and you throw in a towel, maybe that's,
Well, with the manga thing is they're getting crushed in certain ways because I believe the Shonen Jump app is only a couple of bucks a month.
Yeah.
$3.
And it's $3 a month, and the amount of content you can read.
Wow.
Is stupid. It's the same thing with going to, like, say, Barnes and Nobles and buying one of the volumes from them.
Yeah.
They're like the size of a fucking school book. You could beat somebody to death with it, and it's like $10. And you're getting like hundreds of pages, not 22 to 30.
I say it with toys. Price point is king. No matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You could have the best figure ever. If it's $60, I'm not buying it. I'd rather buy my $20 figure. That's decent enough any day of the week.
I'll buy a $10. I as I said, I didn't buy any of, like, I liked some of the Legends toys that would come out.
Yeah,
but at $25 a toy,
it's tough.
I had no interest, but now that they're filling up Ollie's at $9.99, and then they're going on sale on top of that for 25% off, $7.50 a toy. Fuck yeah, I'll buy them.
I tell you what, that Ollie's thing, I can not guarantee it. I think next year will be half the volume on shelves, and you'll see less and less of the Ollie's thing. I think Hasbro is like, all right, if you're not going to buy our product at this price, we're not going to send the shit. And that's like the wrong way for them to go about their business, but they're not going to lower prices.
Well, I know I've talked to Aaron about this, and he's a big toy guy. He loves toys. There's the joke that Aaron's, whenever he wants to impress a woman, he tells her it brings him 6 figures a month or 6 figures a week. They're just 6 action figures. But so he's like, he said this last year when Hasbro announced, we're going to raise our prices in order to increase our profit for our shareholders. He said, this is the absolute wrong thing to do. You are going to kill your market. And it did.
The shit sits on shelves, man.
Well, the funny thing is this is kind of applying to video games now because with the Wolverine leaks, some other like, I guess the best way to put it is sales plan info came out from Sony.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they said they wanted to do was not only did they want to take an individual game and stretch each one out to 3 parts to sell individually with DLC, they wanted to up the price of each game. I didn't mention this part to you last night.
Yeah, I think they
want to raise it up to like
100.
$80 to $100 per game plus
I'm
DLC.
I haven't.
They're going to kill themselves.
I haven't bought a game that. What did I get? I returned. I took that plunge and got Baldur's Gate, but I returned it. I wait for stuff to go on clearance with video games now too.
Mm-hmm.
I wait for clearance.
I literally just bought an Xbox Series X today. I set it up today. I hadn't bought a system since my 360, and I hadn't bought a game even for that, or even turned on the fucking console in probably 6-7 years.
Well, no matter what game it is, just hold back and give it a month.
Yeah,
the price just drops.
Yeah, I have no interest in playing brand new games.
Not for $70 either.
No.
It's bad.
There's very few games I will pay that price for when they come out. If FromSoft makes a game and I'm interested in it, that's a day one buy for me because I like the product they put out.
You've been waiting all year for it, maybe. But
again, like case in point, you knew when Elden Ring got announced, I was buying that shit day one.
Yeah, well, that was something that was announced 3 years ago. So the build up for it was there, and then the reviews.
Longer than that, dude, because the game came out 2 years ago at this point.
I just can't do it. I can't buy these things at this price anymore. And what they also, it's funny. All these prices have gone up. Video games, toys. You mentioned comics, and people tend to be into a little. There's a lot of people that are like me that are into all of it.
Yeah,
I can't spend my paycheck and spread it out to everything anymore. So I got to either pick and choose what I really want, or wait for a sale.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
a lot of people are doing that.
Like, for instance, the thing that killed me on basically buying video games, especially, I mean, really in the first 3 or 4 months that they're out, was Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Oof.
And how bad Capcom fucked every one of us.
No,
was that
3
the one that
actually,
every fighter was
no,
like DLC?
No, 3 wasn't that bad. It was the one that came out after.
No. It was because they had a couple of characters as DLC at like $2 a piece that you can add. First of all, there was like a tenth of what was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Well, that's gonna be hard to match.
But then they released like 4 or 6 of the downloadable characters, and then you had the tsunami in Japan.
Yeah.
And they blamed that for why they couldn't release any of the other DLC. And then they went back and released Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that had all the DLC, or the original game, plus all the original DLC, plus all the other DLC for $70. And you could not just upgrade the original one to they wanted another $70 out of you if you were an original buyer, and I just said, fuck you, Capcom, I'm never buying your shit.
Which is funny because they took the opposite route with both Street Fighter 4 and 5, is they would let you just pay to upgrade.
How much does it cost to buy? What was the newest Dead or Alive? 4 or 5 or 6?
Dead or Alive or Devil May Cry?
No, Dead or Alive. If you want that entire game, it's like
I have no idea what they're up to at this point. I mean, but then you have Capcom also ranting and raving about people modding their games on PC, saying it amounts to cheating, and depending on the mods people are using, it could give the company and the brand a bad image. Like,
I don't care anymore about these companies. They don't care about us. They nickel and dime you. I'm a fan of them. That's as far as I'm a fan of the characters.
You're a fan of what came before compared to what came now.
Before it. I'm not going to support you if you try and like nickel and dime me under the ruse that we need to do this to stay in business. No, good product at a good price point.
So many of these
DOA
games
is
at this point.
$1,200. Yeah, DOA. If you want everything with Dead or Alive, one night I go through the sales on Xbox on Friday nights, and I'm bored, and they had it called an add-on sale, which is all the crap we just discussed. And Dead or Alive, I got to the point where it's Dead or Alive, and the list went on for like 10 minutes. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yep, and it's all
$2.
cosmetic shit.
Oh, I was like, "This is insane. This is insane."
Yeah,
Same
like
thing with The Sims. Not that I give a shit about The Sims, but if you want The Sims in like its entirety, it's just like hundreds of dollars.
well, yeah, like so many of these games at this point are just coming out half baked.
Yeah.
And they've taken the full on fuck it, ship it approach to how they're doing things, and they wonder why. I mean, you're charging us
because they're just playing free to players. You know, if I'm a dad, I am a dad. If I'm a dad, my daughter loves this game called Roblox, and every once in a while I'll buy her like Robux, but I don't spend $50 a month on them. I mean, maybe 20. But she doesn't ask for games, and I'm better for it because the game is free. So,
well, what's funny too is the top 2 games you and me have played the most over the past, I'd say 3 to 4 years were
free.
Well, they're both free now. One wasn't, but they're both free now.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you want to sell a game and then have the Ultimate Edition and all the maps and all the DLC, it's like, get the fuck, just give me the game. Just give me the game and make sure it's good, and you'll sell it.
Yeah, they'll sell. They'll probably move 4 or 5 times the units.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say what you will about Nintendo as a company and if you like their games or not, but how many games really come out with DLC on the Switch that are made by Nintendo? So far, I can think of 2 off the top of my head.
And you got that Mario Kart DLC gives you like 50 tracks, which is like
it gives you a lot, yeah. So it's not like they're I mean, yeah, but they also did that whole thing that no other company has done, where there's like a monthly subscription for DLC.
Nintendo did that?
Something like that, because you know who in Middletown, I'm trying not to name names, even though it doesn't really matter. He got that for his son.
Yeah.
And he made some comment about it. He's like, "Oh, I just pay the monthly fee. I don't buy each individual." I'll have to ask him about it.
That's kind of slick, I guess, if it's rolled into your online subscription.
It might be.
If not,
I mean, or maybe he was just talking about how he just bought the DLC pass for Mario Kart, and then that way, he just got them all. Might have been it. Who knows with him?
I forget what game I was like. Every single game has. I did buy RoboCop new, but it was only a $50 game.
And I've also heard that it's a love letter to the first movie.
So it's so good.
Can you shoot the guy in the dick though?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, excellent.
You could do some funny. You could write parking tickets in that game. You could.
The funny thing is, I saw somebody complaining about how slow you move in the game. People are like, "Have you not watched the Have you not watched the movies?" That's why people were taking it as such a joke when he was in WCW wrestling for that one-off. People were like, "How's he going to do anything? He moves like a foot. He moves at the speed of smell."
It adds to the charm of him moving slow, because you're like, it's great. I totally recommend it. But even that had like Ultimate Edition. I'm like, for what? Oh, how's it Ultimate? It's never even been out yet. Ultimate needs to be like maybe a few years afterwards when all the stuff was released. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you want to come back and charge everybody, and for somebody that didn't buy it originally, and they can get everything, including all the DLC, for like $10 more than the original cost. You've already made your fucking money. That disc or that, especially now that it's all digital releases, all you do is just bundle it all together and boom. Like I was telling Imperatus earlier, I bought Final Fantasy 15 on fucking the Xbox store, like the whole all the DLC, and it was like $14.
Yes,
I'm like, all right, fine, sure, I'll give it a shot.
It's not bad. I played it for about 20 hours, and that's my limit for most games. Better off waiting. If you're getting into video games, just like I said, RoboCop. I love the movie. Who the hell doesn't like RoboCop? And it was $50 is like a bargain now, for a new game anyway. So.
And then you have certain franchises that even when they're on sale, you're like, yeah, I'm not spending that much on that fucking game.
No.
It's like 8 years old. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Call of Duty's bad like that. They don't. It's like, oh, it's on sale for $20. That's how much it should be normally.
Yeah.
Digital, after a year, digital stuff should just be half off right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like you have to press a disc or anything. It's just there.
Yeah, well, that was the big thing when they started saying they were going to do digital stuff. Oh, it's going to be cheaper for people.
No, it's not
never
cheaper.
happened.
They got us by the balls. It's not only is it not cheaper, you don't even own it. They can take it off your system.
I think unless you have it downloaded.
Something weird happened with The Crew, which is not that great a game to begin with, and people were hemming and hawing. I owned that game because it was like $4 one time. I gotta check that because I heard some weird thing about that game, The Crew. It's gone from existence.
Well, there's certain the one thing I could think of that might have happened is if it had licensed music, and there was an expiration date on the license that
they don't want to
have to, right, or they don't want to, they can't, whatever the case may be. Because I have seen stuff even on, like, for example, on Steam get delisted, and it's usually because of something legal.
War for Cybertron, which is a fun game, got taken off because Hasbro bought their own game division, so they didn't want that game to compete with
the
shitty G.I. Joe game.
When it comes to rights, look what happened with the Friday the 13th game.
Yeah, I got the rug pulled out from underneath them.
Well, I have never been a big fan of digital product.
No,
digital media. I understand the convenience of it.
That, which is great, but you don't.
You don't own it. You indefinitely license it.
Right, which is. I like physical stuff too.
Now, I have solved this problem for my movie collection because that was the one, like movie and TV. I just have everything now on my own personal cloud.
Right.
And running a media server in my house with all of my shit on there. And even the stuff that I've bought, I sail the high seas and get another copy of it to store on my
time of making sure the ripping of it is
proper. Well, sometimes that, and sometimes I like using Plex. And if you buy stuff through a store, then you got all the DMR stuff that you gotta, DRM that you gotta get around. So fuck it, I've already paid for it. I'll that one's sitting on your store and on your server somewhere. I just have my own version of it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, gaming is such in a weird state. I mean, Toy Games here have talked about it a bit over the years. It's just. It's
like movies.
Yeah, no, it's different, and I think worse in a way is because there's people who will sit there and just defend this stuff. Like, I've seen people like cheering on like the Suicide Squad game. It's like, oh, this is going to be so great. It's like, okay, so you think the gameplay looks good, but what if it's not? And when it comes to a game, that's what matters most is the actual gameplay.
But look at movies. There's big blockbusters, and there's indie films, right? There's not a lot of mid-tier movies anymore.
Not anymore. They're all going direct to Netflix, direct to streaming. Like the studios, they all have their own streaming platforms now. So those mid-budget, $30-40 million budget movies, they only go direct to their streaming services now.
And that's sort of where video games are right now. It's indie games.
The other funny thing, there's not a lot of AA games anymore, as we like to call them.
The AA companies get absorbed by the big ones to make maps for Call of Duty.
And the funny thing is, when it comes to like that statement you guys were saying there about movies, is a lot of the movies that we grew up with that were really popular, not all of them were a blockbuster. a lot of them,
Yeah.
especially in the 80s, were those,
Yeah.
lack of a better term, B movie. Everybody thinks
think,
B
like,
movie.
yeah.
They think schlock you would see on USA Up All Night.
You think They Live made money at the theater? Didn't make a dime in a movie theater. They Live.
Yeah, like The Burbs.
Yeah.
Fucking, Ghostbusters wasn't an expensive movie to make.
No.
Nope.
It just ended up being a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
As a result.
It really was. There's everything now. I think a lot today. Everything is trying to be a multi-tiered franchise with the T-shirt and the cup and the toy and the movie and the game
and the
Not a lot of
underpants.
things. Yeah.
I mean,
if they're not selling adult toys with, and I mean like adult toys with your fucking brand on it, like, well, it's, we got the toy store and we got the apparel division and we got the lunch boxes, but you know what we didn't get? We didn't get Fleshlight. Like, that's they, like, if they miss anything, it's not good enough.
Yeah. It's really
everything must be a franchise.
My biggest disappointment of the year in anything, toys, games, movies, was Starfield, right? And I'm in the store, and Starfield has no DLC and no online component. There's nothing to download. It is just the game, to its credit. That's probably the best thing about it. You buy the game, you got the game, right? The game, for some reason, is plastered all over bags of Doritos. And I'm like, why? Why is the single-player game plastered all over Doritos? Like, it just goes to show, like, the care for the game is gone. It's more about Starfield the name rather than Starfield the game. You know what I mean? Like, try to sell a name before something is good. You know what I mean?
And I think the irony of it all is we all grew up in the 80s, and supposedly everything we saw on TV was marketed to us to buy shit, and yet we can see this for the bullshit that it is.
That's what they say, Bill. But I think they care. Like, they say that, like, oh, G.I. Joe was just to sell you a toy. So was He-Man. All them cartoons. And Ronald Reagan allowed some law to be passed where I guess a commercial couldn't be some weird law. Where,
it was how much animation
you
were allowed to have in toy commercials.
Okay. So they got around it by
and how much educational shit had to be in the actual cartoons as well. And
so
educational didn't always mean, like, math or science or whatever. A lot of times, as long as it, like G.I. Joe, the more you know. So
the workaround was to make an entire cartoon as the commercial, right?
Yes.
But they tried to have a message. Like, I watched the G.I. Joe episode, right? One of my favorite episodes that I didn't remember as a kid. And I rewatched it recently. Fucking Zartan dresses up as like a banker, and he tells Dusty if his grandmother doesn't get her shit together, he's gonna like sell her house. And the episode is about Dusty raising money to.
I remember that.
It's like, is that gonna sell toys? No. So they were having fun, and there was some care involved and some like.
Well, that's what I mean by a certain percentage had to be educational, and by educational I mean shit like that, or the more you know thing the end of the G.I. Joe episodes, or that little blurb they would do at the end of the He-Man episodes.
You watch the cartoon now. You watch like Steven Universe, or even though I like Adventure Time. It's all fucking nonsense and joke after joke and spastic nonsense.
Well, go ahead.
He-Man and G.I. Joe and Thundercats wasn't like that. It wasn't all like hijinks and not bullshit. There's a story there.
Yeah. And well, part of that was because unlike superheroes, I guess you could say, G.I. Joe was a loyalty fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a bunch of people that were actually like veterans.
Sure.
Like Vietnam veterans that were involved in the creation of that show.
Yeah.
and the associated comic book and the toy line. They created mythology with it.
Oh, it even had a link to WWF.
Yeah. And they created all this mythology and backstory and everything for it. And now they were also doing a shit ton more episodes. If you remember, G.I. Joe actually only had 4 seasons.
Yeah.
They had 50 some episodes per season.
Yes.
Which is insane by today's standard.
That should come on every day.
5 days a week, you were getting a new episode. And sometimes there would be periods of time where it would be they might do it only Monday and Wednesday, or like Tuesday and Thursday are the new episodes. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday just aired a repeat. But it was on every day.
It really was. Judge used to come on at early in the morning before school. And then 3 o'clock when you got home from school.
Like 6:30 a.m., 7 o'clock a.m.
I'd watch it. I would wake up and not turn any light on because I didn't have to be at school till 8. But I'd wake up to watch G.I. Joe and have I learned how to make cinnamon toast. I learned how to make early age. And lights would be off. I'd be watching G.I. Joe. I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the reason why I never really got into Robotech as a kid, because I always had to catch the bus early.
Oh, Robotech was
and Robotech aired at a time when I was already on my way to school.
That is such a good cartoon too, man.
It was for me. I think I was able to watch G.I. Joe because it was on at 6:30 in the morning, and I had to catch the bus at 7:10.
Yeah.
So I was able to finish it and then go outside and get 10 minutes to get to the bus stop and catch my bus.
Yeah.
And that was enough time. And then I think at 3 o'clock it was on again, and I'd be home by 2:45 or something.
It's funny. We talked about weird agendas and stuff. A couple of years ago, I tried to watch the new She-Ra with my daughter just to have something for us to watch. She didn't like it. I didn't like it. It was fucking trash. And then they made a point to, and I'm not trying to bash women or anything, but the point was, it's a girls' cartoon, and the entire writing staff was all women. It's like when you make a point to do that first before you care about a story first. And that may be why sometimes these things just suck, because they're worried about other things to brag about. Like Kathleen Kennedy now wears the Forces Female shit. In the 80s, when she still worked for, she worked on the Indiana Jones films in the 80s. She worked on Ghostbusters. There was no worry about having a female lead. It just, everything was natural. It was like the story first.
In fairness, Kathleen Kennedy really likes to overvalue and overstate her roles in Lucasfilm and Amblin back then, because she was a glorified fucking coffee girl. She just stuck around longer.
Sure.
She started getting promoted back when Amblin or Lucas wasn't doing anything anymore in the 90s.
Lucas,
in the late 80s and early 90s, when the only person doing anything was Spielberg, occasionally being, whenever they did the third Indiana Jones. And then what came out from Lucas between Last Crusade and fucking episode 1?
Was Willow after Last Crusade, or was it before?
No, it would have been, I think it was before.
What came out?
Nothing as far as I'm aware. Like, literally, I don't think Lucas did anything for 6 years, 7 years.
American Graffiti was before Star Wars.
That was before Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, it was before the first Star Wars.
And he did.
Because he didn't want to, that's why he was reluctant to cast Harrison Ford.
That movie any good? I never even seen it.
Neither have I.
And Willow was out a year before Last Crusade.
So
Willow was before, right? And
Yeah, it
Willow
was
was
88.
Lucas and
Willow was
Spielberg, or just
88.
Lucas?
That was Lucas. But that was 88, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was 89.
okay, so it was actually 10 years. The only thing that happened in those 10 years that I can think of from Lucas that was actually a big deal would have been the Star Wars remastered. The ones that had all the special editions.
You know what he was doing? Maybe wasn't
probably
he
when
doing
he was setting up video
amazing
games.
stories on TV?
He might have been, or he was doing, he was focusing. You know what? I think he was mostly just focusing on growing ILM at the time.
Yeah, and getting new tech created for special effects.
Yeah, so that was ILM, and then probably working on the specialized.
I'll give him credit though,
and growing Lucas Arts.
Lucas,
yeah,
he has the last laugh. I'll tell you that, because everyone shit on the prequels, but in hindsight, got worse. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they're merely, instead of being the worst, they're just the middle.
They're just not as good.
Yeah, they're just, when you only had 6 to choose from, 3 were good, 3 were bad.
Yeah.
Now it's 3 were good, 3 were okay, 3 are bad. As long as you keep putting a below the barrel,
yeah,
like if you add rings to that barrel, it's like the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
As long as you keep adding rings to the bottom, you suddenly go from being right at the end to somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And
bad.
The law of averages at work.
Yeah, like, I mean, look.
Did you guys watch Ashoka?
No.
It's a lot of like, from a design standpoint, I like it. Design wise, it looks nice. It's not overly done CG. Obviously, it's a lot of CG, but it's like, feels grounded a little bit. But like, it's so fucking dull. The villain is good, but she is not good. She looks good, but she's just like not a hero. She doesn't feel like a hero. She feels like she's bored to be there. And you really want it?
That's what I heard. Like Rosario Dawson had her fun on when she was in the second season of the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then whenever they gave her own show, it's like, do I really have to be in makeup this long?
Yeah, that's what it looks like, man. It's bad. No, it wasn't as bad as the Boba Fett was the worst. I
think she started suffering Jennifer Lawrence-itis.
Yeah.
With if you watch like all the X-Men movies with Jennifer Lawrence, each movie she's in blue less and less and less.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I'm not sitting in fucking makeup for this long.
Oh, so she's like transformed into other characters.
Yeah, she looks more like just Jennifer Lawrence for most of the film instead of being blue. And like, whereas like in the Bryan Singer movies, like Rebecca Romaine is naked in blue body paint for basically the entire series, except for like 3 minutes in X2, where she's Rebecca Romaine.
I gotta watch them again. I wonder if they hold up.
Actually, you know what? 2 does, and Days of Future Past does, and Last Stand does. The rest of them really do not. The first one sort of holds up a little bit story-wise.
Yeah.
But
the effects show their age.
Yeah, the effects really do show their age. The second one, I think because you know what? You can find out in literally the first 3 minutes of X2 whether it holds up. Watch the Nightcrawler scene that starts that movie.
Okay.
Where he's bamfing through the fucking White House and about to take out the president. And see whether or not you think that holds up.
Okay. It doesn't sound like it does.
It actually does.
Oh, really?
In my opinion, it really does. Like,
I haven't seen them since they came out on DVD, and I was so pumped because it was the first DVD I bought that was widescreen.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to like 90s movies and TV shows, you just got to be careful because show might still hold up fine until they get the CG.
Oh, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Like Spawn.
Oh, so it's right, but like I went back and watched Babylon 5. Show still holds up. The CG for the ships is fucking terrible. Terrible.
Thank God they put in the CG Enterprise for the old show.
That actually looks okay.
Yeah.
Because they took their time and they did that right.
They did.
But when it comes to Babylon 5, is they haven't touched up that
old
like
shit.
mid to late 90s,
Yeah.
I still want an X-Men movie that has Mystique in the fucking maxi dress. Yeah. The white maxi dress with the slits all the way up the side.
Yeah, with the skull choker.
Yes, with the skull choker. I know, right?
I don't understand. Like, what? They showed the images of Wolverine, the brown and yellow, and it was like, it's decent, but they're so afraid of spandex for some reason. I don't know why.
That's one of the reasons why I did like First Class so much, because they did the blue and yellow.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it wasn't spandex.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's fine. It's like padded leather or whatever.
Yeah, it's more like a carbon fiber mesh.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it looks pretty good. I'm still pissed that we never got the scene in The Wolverine where he's given the costume.
Yeah.
Because I wanted that.
Yeah. It's a big deal. They, I don't know. Hollywood.
You got that from Alpha Flight, right?
He got the costume from Alpha Flight, but in the comics, in the movies, he got it from Yukio.
Oh, okay.
In at the end, right at the end of the Wolverine, so the second solo Wolverine movie. Yeah, that was the one with the Silver Samurai as the bad guy.
Was that any good? Was that one any good?
No.
Deadpool. Deadpool's the one in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the one
that movie wasn't good.
That's the one with Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth instead of Taylor Mane.
And it has Will.i.am as the unknown, like
fuck, I can't remember his name, but that's actually
the Blob was cool in it, but he's in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and before that, he was just Fred Dukes, because the Blob was also in Last Stand. He's in the background somewhere.
Really?
Because you had Juggernaut in there, but they made him a mutant for some inexplicable reason.
Yeah, I thought Juggernaut is a mutant though.
No, he's a human that has.
Okay, so he's enhanced. All right.
No. He's mystical.
Yeah, that's what I meant by enhanced. He's as an overall, he's getting his powers from something else.
Yeah, from the Crimson Jewel of Sidorak.
He looked good.
When he did have some sort of mutant ability though, but it was nothing really to sneeze at.
Yeah, go ahead.
He looked cool in the Deadpool movie. Juggernaut.
Yeah, that one's actually closer to Juggernaut than that fucking football hooligan guy that they have.
That was
as Juggernaut in Last Stand. Yeah, he was bad.
That toy, look up that toy. That toy was made. It was so ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Toy Biz made it. It's funny.
That was terrible. Yeah, but they had, let's see, they fucked up Callisto in that movie too in Last Stand. The last two Fox X-Men movies were abysmal. Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. Although
Apocalypse had what's his name from Star Wars as Apocalypse, right?
Yeah, it had the guy that played Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
I keep
Should have
wanting
been
to
The Rock.
say
Yeah.
all, not Omar, not Oliver.
I know.
He was the
I know. Good.
he was the guy in Ex Machina, that movie I
Yeah.
fucking hate. Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac.
Apocalypse.
I have a theory on Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
You can tell a movie's going to be terrible when he's in it. And it's not a knock on him. I think he's actually a really good
You
actor.
didn't like Ex Machina?
I fucking hate that movie.
Really? I like that movie.
That was one of, there's 3 movies that I've ever wanted my money back on.
Yeah.
Ex Machina, The Revenant, and Bringing Out the Dead.
Well, The Revenant, I choose too long. I liked Ex Machina though. I thought it was
I hate that movie.
It was pretty fucking spooky though.
But what my belief is that Oscar Isaac is a very good actor that has the worst ability to evaluate a script.
Sure.
And he signs on to he's probably the best thing in abysmal films.
He got, he
got boned in Star Wars.
Him and Finn got boned big time in Star Wars. The movie should have been kind of about them two, and not what it ended up being.
Oh yeah, but
they screwed that up, man.
He was good, but the story in Moon Knight was fucking terrible.
Oh, Moon Knight, yeah, it was bad. I forgot about Moon Knight.
You know what? I didn't mind him in Dune.
Yeah, I gotta wait for.
I think Dune is the only movie I've ever seen him in that I thought was good.
I like Ex Machina, and he's in like a sappy guitar folk movie, something Daniel Lewis or something. It's boring, but it's watchable.
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yes.
Okay,
I remember that.
Never. I'm looking at his filmography on IMDb right now.
That movie, if you watch it, you're not going to hate it, but it's not like.
Well, I'm looking at what he's been in. I didn't like Drive. I didn't understand what everybody liked about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't think it was good. Mm-hmm. The terrible Russell Crowe Robin Hood movie.
He's in that.
He's Prince John.
That's a bad movie.
He was obviously in, the Star Wars movies. He has a bunch of shit on here that I've never heard of. He was in The Bourne Legacy, but that's the bad Bourne movie.
Yeah.
I hated Ex Machina. All the Star Wars movies.
Bill, did you see Ex Machina?
I did not.
He was
if you ever want to see a guy try to bang a cyborg.
Dude, I watch anime. That's nothing new.
It's really weird. Oh, Annihilation. That Netflix movie. That was so bad.
Annihilation's the all-female alien hunter movie, right?
Yeah, except for without aliens.
Yeah, they were like animals.
Yeah, they just kept going through like weird. It was like some weird terraforming thing.
Yeah.
He was terrible. Well, he was all right, but Apocalypse looked like fucking Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
It was a bad cast. It should have been The Rock. They should have threw The Rock in a bunch of makeup and had him say like 10 lines.
Yeah. Or you just do him all CGI.
True.
Yeah.
Also, they fucked up Apocalypse's powers throughout the entire movie. Like, they didn't even have anything close to his powers. They, basically sort of used his design.
Can he grow?
Yeah, he can stretch himself basically, and he can turn his body parts into. He actually can blast energy from them. But he's mostly a giant shape changer.
Right.
They didn't do any of that. The only time they did do that was in the psychic fight sequence in Xavier's mind. But apparently they gave him the powers to basically suck everyone else's powers up.
Is Hugh Jackman in that one?
Yes. No, he's not.
Like Psylocke and
Psylocke was in there, a terrible angel that became Archangel. This really twinky little version of Nightcrawler that was different from the Nightcrawler in the other movies. Well, yeah, you had
it bombed too, right?
It did all right. It was Dark Phoenix that bombed.
That's true.
That's after it?
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix is after. There's a lot of reasons for that one though. Because that one was still released
I don't even remember this Dark Phoenix one.
Okay, it's because it got a very they didn't do a lot of promotion for it because it was mostly filmed before the Disney acquisition
Yeah.
of Fox. But it didn't come out until after the Disney acquisition of Fox.
Who's
the Mutants.
Yeah, who's the lead villain in that?
That's the thing. Well, it was the Dark Phoenix, but there's oh god, who's that? What the fuck is her name? Hold on. She it's Jessica Chastain plays the lead villain.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The whole villain arc of it was supposed to be the Skrulls, and she was supposed to be playing the Skrull Queen after the Dark Phoenix had destroyed the Skrull homeworld.
Okay.
The problem was it was coming out right before Captain Marvel, which was using the Skrulls in that movie and as sympathetic characters.
Yeah.
So they couldn't have the Skrulls in both movies. So they literally just wiped out the entire villain backstory and motivation and everything. And all she was some random blonde chick.
Oh my God.
That was influencing the Phoenix to do terrible things and to destroy the world.
They don't care.
There was no explanation for it at all. And it was so fucking bad.
That was the same thing that happened with the New Mutants movie. Filmed before Disney bought Fox, released after Disney bought Fox. Barely any promotion. Not that the movie was any good.
I kept, there was literally an ongoing joke about that. Shit, you all right?
Yeah. Ongoing joke.
That movie was never going to get released because they kept putting out release dates, and then the release date would pass, the movie wouldn't come out, and then like 3 months later they'd put another release date. It had like 5 release dates over the course of 2 years. I'm like, they're going to eventually dump this because it was right around the time that Disney Plus was launching.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're going to dump it on Disney Plus as like a launch title.
I don't even remember.
And they didn't. They waited until like,
I remember, I think
it got dumped in like February, right at the beginning of COVID.
I remember the poster art for it, and I remember people. I forget why people hated it, the trailer.
Because it didn't feel like the New Mutants at all.
It didn't, right?
It didn't. They were supposedly doing a interpretation of the Demon Bear saga.
Yeah.
But none of the kids, all of them were mutants. they were, for some inexplicable reason, all in some like basically children's mutant prison that was supposedly like an orphanage.
Yeah.
I guess Mr. Sinister was supposed to be the bad guy, but he's not in it. There's a Dr. Essex that's like mentioned twice. And
every good superhero movie has got to have a good villain. And that's why Thanos, that's why the first Infinity Saga is so great, because Thanos is so good.
Yeah. There was no real motivation. They tried to basically make a horror movie.
That's what happened with Fantastic Four too. He said he wanted that to be a horror movie. It's like,
yeah,
make a horror movie then. Don't make Fantastic.
There's
Four.
plenty of other quote unquote superheroes you could use for a horror movie. The Fantastic Four are absolutely not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, hell, you could go back and redo the. You know that there's an MCU movie that is before Incredible Hulk and Iron Man that came out and was filmed at the same time. Man-Thing. There is a Man-Thing movie that was part of the MCU that went direct to DVD because it was so bad.
Oh, that sucks.
I have it.
Is it really that bad?
It's not, but you don't see much Man-Thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it better than the Swamp Thing movie?
It's about on par with the Swamp Thing movie. It's not as good as the Swamp Thing TV show that they did a couple of years back.
What a shame that show was good.
You know, it's really funny. The reason why it didn't get picked up is because they thought that somebody had wrote down the wrong amount of a tax credit that they were getting for filming. And that made it so that ended up they ended up losing money on it because they thought they were getting like 4.8 million in tax credits for it, and they were only getting like 0.48 million or 0.8 million. And I think somebody had just shorthanded, like, instead of the word for, like FOR, they put in like 0.8 million.
Wow. It's a good show.
And it ended up losing the money because their accounting was entirely off on it.
What a nightmare.
And that's why it never got picked up for season 2.
That's sad, because that was pretty decent.
Yeah.
For its time frame, yeah. But I mean, there's also over the years there's been a ton of shows that were actually somewhat decent that never made it past the first season, if they even made it to a first season. I mean, do you guys remember Tales of the Golden Monkey?
Mm-mm.
Came out right after the first Indiana Jones movie.
Okay.
Set in the same time period. That one season they did of Archer where he's still dreaming and he's on like this tropical island.
Yeah.
That's pretty much Tales of the Golden Monkey.
I'm gonna try watching tonight before I go to
bed. That's why they make a joke in that season of Archer where him and Pam are sitting there talking to they're like, oh, there's an idol in the jungle. He's like, oh, maybe it's a golden monkey. No, it's not a golden monkey. Yeah, but then she turns and looks straight at the camera. It's not a golden monkey.
That's an American show?
Yeah, it was set in like the World War II era, like in the South Pacific. Like the main character was like a seaboat pilot. There was the name of the bar. There was a bar that was called the Golden Monkey, and they literally had a gold monkey. And since that area wasn't really controlled by any of the world superpowers like Germany, Britain, US, whatever, it was considered neutral territory. So there'd be a couple of characters that were working for the Germans and trying to do shit. You know, it was
TV land version of Madripoor.
Yeah. It was very much so like at the time what you could possibly think of like what maybe an Indiana Jones TV series might be like, kind of. But that didn't last for very long.
I bet it's on Tubi. Tubi is great for having all these.
Probably. I mean, I think they did put all the episodes at least on DVD box set or Blu-ray or something, because there wasn't really a lot. Like, I think it literally, I don't even know if it made it through its full season.
Tubi has a ton of that crap where it's like
Yeah,
season shows like on there. It's for free. It's so good.
I watched on Tubi one night. I was watching. It was the show that was the predecessor to Ultraman. It's called Ultra Q. It's
great.
essentially like a Japanese X-Files.
Really?
Yeah, but instead of like weird alien, it's got aliens and stuff like that. It doesn't have like the political conspiracy, but it's like an organization going around investigating weird shit, and it turns out to either usually be a kaiju or an alien or something like that.
So good.
I'm looking.
That was on Tubi, yeah.
I'm looking at the cast list from Tales of the Gold Monkey. It's Tales of the Gold Monkey, not Golden.
Golden, okay.
Yeah, it's just Gold Monkey. And I'm sitting there going, I don't recognize literally anyone on this show from anything else.
That was also an era though where being a TV star was actually just as acceptable as being a movie star. Just
Actually, that one might not be anywhere.
Oh, really?
It had the dad from Seventh Heaven as the lead.
Uh-huh.
And we all know what came out about him.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't think Seventh Heaven's is streamable anywhere.
Nope.
And I'm betting this show isn't either.
Nope. What a good note to end on for me, Bill.
I know.
Yeah, well, you know how it goes.
So you may have to go sailing the high seas.
Yeah, take a look for it. If you can't find it, let me know, and I'll do my
I got Cinema,
scans.
which is like a free streaming thing too.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's. I mean, I would just do a search and just type in Tales of the Gold Monkey streaming.
There's a show that remember TV Land? Nickelodeon's TV Land.
Yeah,
there was a show that they aired called The White Shadow about this basketball coach who was in the NBA and he hurt his knee and he's washed up. So he gets approached by an old friend, wants to come back to his hometown. The high school's a shithole. He wants him to coach the basketball team to give these kids something to, at least look up to as far as like a father figure who can have them something to look forward to and go to school. And the school's a shithole. He goes there, and the kids are all fucking idiots and jerks. It's like Welcome Back, Kotter with basketball. Somebody put that whole fucking 3 seasons of that show on YouTube. So,
another place is the Internet Archive.
Yeah, you might find it on YouTube or like Daily Motion or something like that.
I just downloaded from Internet Archive all 3 or 4 seasons of Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Because that's not available anywhere.
That's a great show. That came on in between Married with Children and like In Living Color.
Yeah.
And then he ended up trying to be a rapper, and it ended that show's fucking.
Yeah.
Parker Lewis could lose.
Yeah, Parker Lewis did lose.
I was gonna say, lose.
It was a great show, but when he tried to be a rapper, I don't know if that conflicted with like his interest in the show or what the hell. But
only reference I know from the show is the joke they made on Family Guy. I don't really remember the show.
Oh, the show was pretty
good. It was like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
If they would have done a Ferris Bueller series.
Gotcha.
Which I think they did.
They tried to, I think, with a different guy.
Yeah, but like it was in the 80s, I think it was when right after like the movie came out, they tried.
And there's a YouTube channel called like Hats Off Entertainment. And the guy, that's his shtick to like little documentaries on like these shows that were just terrible ideas or could have been a good show, but wrong time, right place, whatever. And he has one on that Ferris Bueller, and it's like I think they got the principal to be in the show though.
Possibly, yeah.
And some other,
or maybe Ben Stein.
Yeah. Someone from the show from the movie was in the show. Maybe even just like that lady who held the principal.
Because bear in mind, in the 80s, anytime a movie was successful, they tried doing other shit with it.
Yeah, I think RoboCop had a TV show.
RoboCop had a TV show. Teen Wolf had a TV show.
The Ferris Bueller show was in 1990, so
Wow.
6 years after,
Oh,
or
there you
4
go.
years after the movie.
Right idea, wrong time.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston's in it though.
Wow.
Was
It
that
lasted
pre or
one-
post Leprechaun?
Same
year, probably.
1990, so possibly the same year.
Yeah.
It had nope, I'm sorry, that's that guy that looks like Wilford Brimley but isn't Wilford Brimley. Richard Reel. And it's got the drunk lady from
The
oh no, this is not her. Wait, was it? No, I don't know who the hell this lady is. Yeah, I'm not seeing
Nobody from the show, huh? The
I'm
movie,
not-
rather.
not that I'm seeing. Was Richard Reel in the movie? Was he the principal?
I think so.
All right, let's go back to 1986 and see.
That guy was great.
It's been a long time since I've watched that movie.
That's a great one.
Yeah, was he the guy that looked like Wilford Brimley but isn't Wilford Brimley?
I don't know.
Oh my God,
Brimley
this guy's
was in The Thing, right?
he was in The Abyss.
He was in
Cocoon.
Okay, I think he's in The Thing too.
He was, I mean, he's that guy that looked like he was 65 when he was 40.
Yeah.
And still looks exactly the same today.
It's great.
He's the diabetes guy.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Oh, it's the guy from Free Willy. The guy that looks like Wilford Brimley from Free Willy. All right. So he was in Ferris
Bueller?
He's in the TV
Oh.
show of Ferris Bueller. And then I'm trying to get back. No, he's not in. He was not in the movie. So unless he was uncredited.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like they'll get like the example. He did a Teen Wolf the movie, fairly successful movie. Then they did the TV show. I don't remember if that came out in between the first or second Teen Wolf movies.
I think it came out between them, but I'm not sure.
But it's like you didn't get Michael J. Fox, and I think it came out after the second movie because it's like they didn't get Michael J. Fox and they didn't get Bateman.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole another version of it. It's because at least they had the explanation of like in the second movie it wasn't the same character as Michael J. Fox. It was it was like his cousin or something like that.
Yeah, and it was, and then there's the terrible
cartoon.
No, the MTV remake from a couple of years ago that was like all gay shit.
It's MTV. What do you expect?
Well, it's like when they also tried to remake Heathers as a TV show with like all body positive people.
Ugh.
Like you realize they're the mean girls, right? Like their whole shtick is to be absolutely prissy, perfect bitches.
Yeah.
That was their thing. If they're just body positive, they can't make fun of another person for being fat.
Yeah.
And being bitchy about it. Like that was the thing. Fuck. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine by me.
These people miss the point on everything.
Well, yeah, they do, and it is starting to get a bit much.
But
it's like what you can only miss the point for so long before somebody comes along and goes, "Are you retarded?"
Yes. Well, we know the answer is yes.
Well, yeah, this is true. But the fact that no one's come along and asked that question, I think they're starting to now in certain industries.
Certain industries, but not many.
Not many, but they're starting to, because as people have said, and I'm one of these people, it was only going to be so long before certain investors started really making noise.
Yeah, but it's taking a little too long.
Taking a little too long. I mean, BlackRock and Vanguard and all those investors, fine, that's one thing. And yes, they do have a lot of power. But everybody else, it's like they're not making money. They're finally starting to be like, what the fuck?
Oh,
why are we not getting the returns we're supposed to be getting?
By the way, Toy Gaines left, but he would have appreciated this. Aaron Sparrow just posted the Jonathan Majors Kang.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is down to $5.99 at Ross. See,
wow.
The Ross that we have here is just clothing.
I've never even heard of that place.
It's Ross Dress for Less. I've never seen them selling stuff that wasn't clothes.
Yeah, I've
like you can
no
get
idea.
like it's like a Gabe's, like Gabriel Brothers.
Nope, never heard of them either.
Never. Fuck. Okay.
And then, you know, the irony is we're really not that far away from each other.
Geographically, no.
It's like 6 to 8 hours, maybe 10, depending on traffic. And with PA, that's a gamble in and of itself.
Yeah. But so
we're going to block off, 20 miles of road, a quarter mile at a time.
For absolutely no reason. And there will be nobody working in those areas.
Correct.
But yeah, so apparently these are, oh God, choking hazard.
Yeah, that's really, he made a kind of a point to point that out. Even I was like, wow.
Oh, wow. He's not even called Kang, though. He's called He Who Remains.
Really?
On the box.
Wow.
Yeah, it says the box says He Who Remains. And so he's not even named Kang. And it's, oh God, it was one of the no window boxes. The art box legends, the ones that don't have the plastic free ones.
Right.
Because apparently Hasbro doesn't understand the plastic's recyclable.
Well, evidently, I guess various collectors over in Japan are starting to make noise about that.
Oh,
because they want the plastic bubble.
Oh,
so they can see what they're getting.
Oh, yeah, because you can get a toy that's missing parts.
Not even that's missing parts, but they want to see what the detail of the figure actually looks like. You can see all the pictures online you want, but you want to see how it looks in front of you. It got to a point where I guess there was model shops that had to put up model and toy shops that had to put up signs saying, please do not open boxes.
Oh, wow.
Because people were opening up the boxes, looking at it, putting it back, and either buying it or not buying it.
Unless they're giving each store one of each of the things to essentially open up and put on display.
Yeah.
Like right in front of, like, here's where all of our Wolverine, this figure. But you're buying 2 copies of each of the figures or 1 case of them, and you're getting whatever you're getting. And so unless they're giving you a case for free, so that you could put it out, I'm betting that those figures didn't move at all.
No, and then now certain stores are complaining about, like, why aren't, these are things that people would normally be buying, but they're not, and the people who would be buying were responding like, because we can't see what we're getting. We're not going to take the risk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. There's no plastic bubble on you've seen Gundam model boxes.
Yeah.
But you have a damn good idea of what you're getting. And depending on the one store I've gone to down in New Jersey, sometimes the boxes will have 2 straps of plastic on it, so you can't open the box. It's also to keep it from opening and shit getting missing. Yeah. But not every box will have that. And the one shop, my buddy opened up the box right in front of the guy working there. And the only time he just asked one time, like, why do you guys do that? Just to see what it comes with?
Yeah. And the thing is,
to see how big, in some cases too, to see how bad the color correcting decal is going to be.
Yeah. And don't those things, a lot of them don't even have tape on the
box
the
itself.
boxes.
No. If it doesn't have those two pieces of plastic, because if you snap, cut or snap those, they're not going back.
Yeah, exactly.
So if those have that, and it's like, okay, nope, not going to touch that.
Yeah,
because I've gotten quote unquote open box model kits or damaged box model kits. You know what was wrong with it?
The box.
Those pieces of plastics were cut.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, there's nothing wrong with the box. It's not damage.
Yeah. But hey, take the discount.
I'll take the 20%. And I was gonna say this before when Toy Games was here. Bandai did actually do something to kind of countermand the the shops that would do shady things to upcharge people. They caught people using bots and whatnot to scap up all the a lot of the P Bandai stuff, like I had mentioned before.
Okay.
And then, but not doing it under their ordering it under their store account, but then taking a chunk of them and scalping them on eBay. Well, Bandai found out and was able to say, prove these shops were doing this. They cut them off. No more Bandai product.
Okay.
And Bandai's more than Gundam.
Oh.
Bandai is Dark Souls, Gundam, Dragon Ball, Naruto.
Okay, so a lot.
A lot of stuff. If it comes out as a toy or a collectible or something like that,
it's coming from Bandai.
Yeah, they just cut them right the fuck off. They said no more product for you at all.
So Bandai is the Hasbro of Japan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But
so you're
just
you're down to one toy company in America.
Well,
does Kenner still exist?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there's other model companies. There's Good Smile, which puts out the Motoroid line, which I'm a fan of, because they do a lot of stuff like certain parts are already pre-painted. So if there's details on the face, they're already pre-painted.
Oh.
Which is nice. There's those. There's another company called Kotobukiya. But just losing Bandai, it's like, oof. Oh, you're not going to be in business for long. Because there's not enough Good Smile and Motoroid and other companies.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if, it's illegal in Japan to import Chinese third-party knockoffs.
Probably.
For something that's made in that country.
Yeah.
Because there is a big market for third-party Chinese knockoff Gunpla kits.
Japan is very, very. They have a very strong protectionist economy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even, if you're an American or you're a foreigner at all, you are not allowed to open a business there unless you were at least 50-50 partners with a native person.
That's why the Xbox never did good over there.
Yeah, because Microsoft
is an American company.
Yeah, and they did not have they were not able to partner with a Japanese company. It wouldn't. I was shocked that they didn't try to partner with Sega.
Because they were at the time.
But Sega, especially on the original Xbox, Sega was still a competitor. Because they still had the Dreamcast out.
Dreamcast was already done at that point.
No, 2001 was the Xbox launch, or late 2000, I'm not sure. And they were still keeping the Dreamcast going because that launched in 99.
And what's even funnier is Microsoft helped Sega with the Dreamcast.
I know. So they were still technically rivals, but why they didn't by 2002, when it was very clear that the Dreamcast, I think it was late 2001 when they killed the Dreamcast completely.
Yeah.
So why they didn't do an Xbox launch with Sega as their partner in Japan in 2002?
Who knows? Who knows how much red tape there would have been? Who knows, if it would have been profitable for either party?
Yeah.
Who the hell knows? I mean, because Sega did make games for the original Xbox as well.
Yeah, and Sega's still in the game side business with 2K games.
Not anymore. They I don't really know if they do anything with 2K anymore. I know they stopped all their sports titles.
Oh, they did?
There's no more 2K sports titles.
Oh, really? Okay. Did EA finally just
yeah, because pretty much. Well, what happened was they were starting to outsell the EA ones because they had more features. They wouldn't take shit out that people liked, so on and so forth. So what did EA do? Instead of making a better game, they just got exclusive licenses with all the leagues.
Oh, okay.
They did with football.
Yeah.
And like the only person who has MLB rights is the company that makes the show, which is Sony.
Yeah. Does the show, is it available on
on Xbox? Yes, and it usually goes right into Game Pass.
Okay. All right.
Like
cool. I mean, I don't like baseball, but
yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. With Game Pass now, they also give you what they refer to as EA Play, because EA.
I've seen that.
So for like hockey, for example, I don't know how up to date it is, but if anything, it'd be the one that came out last year.
Yeah, it'd be. Actually, it's more than likely it's the one for this year, because Madden 23 is on there.
Right. Oh yeah, because usually what they were doing initially was when the season ended for that year, then it would go up on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, ever since I think whatever one of the EA NHL games that came out whenever I had my 360, that was the last one that I got, because they had changed the entire game engine on it, and none of the controls that I'd been playing since fucking, you could make Gretzky's head bleed in NHL 91. None of those controls worked anymore. You were using fucking the joysticks to take a shot.
Yeah, you can change that.
You couldn't back then.
And really? I was like, I know, because nowadays I have played some of the more recent ones, and it is either using the sticks or using button presses.
Yeah, like button press for shoot was the thing, and hold button press
to shoot harder.
But it also had a longer wind up.
Yeah,
you couldn't surprise the goalie with it. You just had to beat them, and like aiming shots and shit like that. Like, no.
Problem with a lot of games, and if Toy Games was here, he'd probably agree with me, is they make things more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah, like they killed my interest in, because I would buy the NHL EA game religiously.
Right.
Every year.
Anybody who's a sports fan had a tendency to do that if they were also a gamer.
Yeah. And then they put that one out. I think that was the one with Ilya Kovalchuk on the cover. I think. I don't remember. Maybe Pavel Datsuk, somebody.
And his last name sounds like a disease.
Yeah. I think it was some Russian.
Because that was the joke my friends always used to make about Kasperitis.
Yes.
Like, and your last name sounds like a disease. I'm sorry.
Yes. And that was, I got it. I played it for about 30 minutes. I said, I hate this fucking game. Never played it again.
Right.
Actually, I think I have it in here because I just moved all my games. Because I just moved the 360 up here, but I haven't hooked that up. I can't reach it and still stay on mic. So, but regardless, I think it's about time I called it a night.
Yeah, we've gone for almost 3 hours, so
yeah, I'm pretty sure the girlfriend's like, "What the fuck is he doing?"
Being a geek.
Yes,
with the boys.
Mm-hmm. So, no, man, this was great.
Yeah. I had a feeling you and Toy Games would get along. He's a good dude. I've known him since we were in junior high.
Awesome. Yeah.
And him and Aaron are going to get along.
Oh, they will get along spectacularly.
So
yeah.
As far as I was still in the chat, thank you for being here. Chozo, thanks for hanging out, leaving, and coming back. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Fiend Machine, thanks guys. come the new year, I'm going to be doing hopefully a regular gaming stream with me and Toy Games. And we'll
Awesome.
be having, various people on joining us with that here and there. And doing this a little bit more regularly. I know I keep saying that, but
Well, you know what? Maybe, you know what? I think we should probably start a. Oh, I think you're in one of the group chats.
I'm in the one with Pele. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? Let's organize in there,
Yeah.
and we can start trying to come up with a regular time.
Even if
So
it's
that
like
way it's-
twice a month, once a month,
Yeah.
as long as it's regular. Like one of the things I want to do, and I'm kind of shooting for the stars here, is trying to get Mark Miller on.
Mark
Just
would be
because I'd love to talk to him. Like, want to hear, like to hear how his brain works, considering he's one of the very few people that is successful right now in the comics industry.
Yes, exactly. But
And plus,
No, it
he
was
seems
fun.
like a decent dude.
yes, but this was a lot of fun. I mean,
Yes.
it was mostly talking toys and games this time,
Yeah.
which is very different.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I know that's what Flatline, or that's his gaming tag, Toy Games is
Yeah.
into. He was into comics. That was something we talked about when we were in school.
Yeah.
So he does have some knowledge, and also for him, it's good kind of getting an insight into what's going on these days.
Exactly.
Because he's probably hearing stuff on the periphery, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they're doing what with who? Why?
Yeah.
That sounds stupid.
You'd be surprised, Fizz Chozo. You'd be surprised.
Yep.
It might be a small fry, but I do know some people that have some stroke.
All right, man. Well, let's schedule this for a little more regular.
Yeah.
And-
Once the new year pass, the holidays pass, we'll start organizing. We'll do it in that group chat and so on and so
Yes.
forth.
Excellent, man. Well, thank you for having me on.
Oh, always, man, always.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the very near future.